Welcome, everyone, to episode 235 of the Thumbstick Athletes podcast. I'm your host, Dan.
I'm Will.
Corey.
No Eric this week. Eric is on his way home from Virginia, where I'll let him talk about it, but he was apartment hunting with his fiance, so I'll let him talk about all that. Hopefully I don't know if he's going to be on. Do you know if he's going to be on before his wedding?
I doubt it.
Yeah.
Okay. Even after his wedding, he's got to move. So.
Maybe next week, but definitely probably not the week of
Not
his
the
wedding.
week of the wedding, yeah. And then maybe the week after. We'll keep you posted. Hopefully we can get him in one more in studio before he moves.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Today's topic is going to be the 2016 Games Preview Part 2. We initially weren't going to do two parts, but as we finished up our Part 1, we realized how many games we didn't end up covering that are supposed to come out in 2016 at some point, so we figured we would take some time and cover those games. Right, fellas?
Yeah.
Anyone have anything you want to tease for later on in the episode? I've got a big...
Yeah, I do too.
Go ahead, Will.
Well, I played more Dying Light, Rise of the Tomb Raider. I want to talk a little bit about Fallout 4, and I played more Skyrim, Halo 5, and I played some Smite.
Hey, Smite, huh?
Yeah.
Cool.
Using my one makes me play that every now and again.
Gotcha. Corey, anything to tease?
I do, actually. A couple things I'm excited to talk about. A couple big early 2016 releases in the form of Pony Island.
Ooh.
I don't know if you guys have heard anything about Pony Island.
Just your card.
Okay. And That Dragon Cancer.
Oh, you did play that.
Okay.
Yes. And then, Dan, I know you were playing a lot of this as well.
Oh, yeah.
Dragon's Dogma, Dark
Yep.
Arisen.
We'll be talking about the port. I put about 31 hours into it so far.
Jeez.
Since Friday. It's been out a week, so almost a week. So we'll talk a lot about that later. Specifically the port, but also it as a game in general, because it's been a while since we've covered it. So.
Yeah. We covered it early on in the genesis of the podcast.
Did it come out? It was either the first year or early in the second year. It was what do we start 2011?
Yeah.
So it was either late 2011 or early 2012. It came out in early 2012, I think.
That was my guess as well.
I think it's because it says on the screen when it came out. So I believe it was 2012. I don't remember the date, but I remember it was a midnight launch that I went to. It was for Dragon's Dogma and one of the Ghost Recons, and there was 8 people there.
I was gonna say they did a midnight release for Dragon's Dogma.
It seems like back then they did a midnight release for every game.
Yeah, now they don't.
No, they don't. They only do them for really, really big releases now. Even some of the AAAs that aren't necessarily huge releases, they won't do them for even just the really big games.
It has to have 100 pre-orders for them to do one.
Yeah. Yeah, there was 8 people there. I was the only one there for Dragon's Dogma.
I was gonna say I wonder if corporate makes them do midnight releases for certain games, depending on their relationship with the publisher.
That might have been. But I feel like that was the era where they did midnight launches for just about everything.
It felt like it, yeah.
Because there's a lot of games where I was just like, I don't need to have that at midnight, I think it was just convenient for me to go pick up Dragon's Dogma at midnight for whatever reason.
Was it a couple? Do you remember what game it was with?
It was one of the Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon games.
Wow, 2 heavy hitters there.
Yeah, well, like I said, there was 8 people at the midnight launch at our local GameStop there, and I was the only one there for Dragon's Dogma.
It came out May 22nd, Dan, by the way, of 2012.
Okay, yeah. I figured it was kind of early. But anyway, let's get into our 2016 Games Preview Part 2. Corey, why don't you start us with the first game?
I have a game that I've been hearing a lot about, but I knew nothing about the game itself until recently. And that game is called Cobalt.
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure if you guys know anything about Cobalt.
No.
I've heard the name and I've looked into it, but I feel like it was a while ago, so I don't remember anything about it.
So it's named after the main character of the game. His name is Cobalt. And it's an action platforming side-scroller by Oxeye Game Studio. I tried to do a little research to see what they did. I don't think anybody would recognize any of the games that they have made in the past, one of those. But it's published by Mojang. Didn't we determine it was pronounced Mojang?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. The Oxeye themselves said you will see a lot of bullet time and multiplayer. Those are the two features they were really touting with the game. And the best way I can describe it is the art style's sort of reminiscent of Super Meat Boy,
Oh, cool.
but it's obviously more detailed and science fiction-y with guns and action and all that kind of stuff. So in the trailers and stuff we've watched, you see the bullet time and you can roll around to deflect bullets. There's punching. There's a number of different game modes. Capture the flag, deathmatch, team strike, which is like a one life only, like SWAT in Halo, and survival, and there's an adventure mode.
Huh.
But you can also create your own maps with the in-game map editor that will launch with the game.
Nice.
It's actually, I guess the game itself has been around since 2011, but this is like the final official.
Is it
launch.
early access?
No, it's just one of
There's
those things that they
what
put
it's-
out like a prototype,
Okay.
and it's just sort of been in development here and there, and it's finally coming to fruition. But it actually did get a release date of February 2nd, so that's right around the corner. But it looked really cool, so if anybody has any interest, I don't know, Dan will.
Yeah.
I'd have to see.
If it's if it's 15, 20 bucks, I'll probably get it.
Yeah.
The problem is there's a lot of indies coming out in February that I'm going to buy, so.
Yep.
Because Unravel's coming out early, and then Firewatch and Mighty Number 9 are both coming out early in February, along with XCOM 2.
Is the Mighty Number 9 coming out then?
Yeah, it's
Something will change.
the 9th, supposedly. That one's been delayed a bunch of times, so. Okay. I'll go next. Pokemon Go, developed by Niantic and published by the Pokemon Company. It's an augmented reality Pokemon game for iOS and Android. We had talked about this being a good idea before we even heard about it. It was many years ago, and I heard that this game's been in development since 2012, which is very possible, or it's been in the planning stages, I guess, since 2012, and it's very possible that someone at Nintendo heard us talk about it and thought it was a good idea and decided
it's a
to
possibility.
steal our idea. But yeah, apparently different types of Pokemon will be available only in certain areas. For example, water Pokemon will only live near water. That's a fairly obvious one, but it'll be interesting to see the breakdown of Pokemon populations in various areas. It'll be released alongside the Pokemon Go Plus, which is a wearable that can alert the player when a Pokemon is nearby. Apparently, it's got LEDs on it and will vibrate when something is nearby. You can attach it to a wristband or a watch or a necklace or something, or like a belt loop, I guess. And apparently, there's a button you can push on it that'll like do, I guess, an auto capture. So I guess it'll auto capture if there's an easier Pokemon, so you don't have to like pull out your phone and look and see what it was. So
I was gonna say, you said if it's an easier Pokemon.
yeah,
If it's a legendary, you still gotta whip
Yeah,
out your Pokeball and.
probably.
front of your
I
friends.
don't know if it has a way of notifying you, like if the vibration gets like super intense, if something crazy is nearby that you need to know about.
Your phone's violently shaking.
Yeah, but they decided to go with a unique wearable due to the high cost of smartwatches. I can imagine at some point there will be a smartwatch app, but for right now they're just going with the Go Plus as an attachment for the game. So I'm really excited for Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
Interesting to see what they're going to do with it. Even though I'm 32 and probably too old for such things.
I hope they really are really diligent about where they put Pokemans, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, just one small town in Alaska is the only place you can get Articuno.
Yeah,
Which would work, you know?
absolutely. I think it's a really interesting idea. I wonder if they kind of alluded to that this game was coming. I don't know if you remember April Fools a few years ago, maybe 2014 or maybe even last year. They did the Pokemon finding on Google Maps thing. I wonder if that was any relation to Pokemon Go. If they had some sort of
I forgot they did
viral
that.
marketing type of thing.
That could very well be.
Yeah.
Do
I
we know if they're going to allow trading?
Yeah, you can trade, battle, all that fun stuff.
Can you imagine being that one guy who lives in that small town in Alaska that's just farming Articunos for the rest of the world?
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly right. That's where the beauty of this type of game is. I think. I think
Definitely.
it's a really interesting concept, and Nintendo has the capability of pulling something like this off. So, I'm excited. It was weird to cover a mobile game. But
yeah, you're right.
I felt like I had to.
Do you feel dirty now, Dan?
No. I mean, it's Nintendo, so no, I don't feel very dirty.
Okay.
But it's augmented reality too. It's not Candy Crush Saga 2, So
Fair enough.
all right, go ahead, Will. What do you got?
My first one is Halo Wars 2. Now, when I picked this game, I thought there was a little more information on it out there. Come to find out there isn't. It's being developed by Creative Assembly with some help from 343 Industries. It's set to come out quarter 3 or 4 of 2016 for the Xbox One and Windows 10. Now, I'm wondering if they're going to have cross-platform play for this game.
Oh, I don't know.
They should, right?
Yeah, I think.
Because if they're trying to make the one and the computer become more of like one entity, sort of, there should be cross-platform play, right?
There's a few other games that are doing cross-platform multiplayer between the PC and Xbox One. Fable Legends is one of them. Sea of Thieves is one of them.
Oh, Sea of Thieves is doing that?
Gigantic is doing that too.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it is a more common practice. Creative Assembly has done a few strategy games too.
Yep.
Were they didn't do
The first one? No, that was Ensemble.
Ensemble. I always get those two confused. But Creative Assembly, they've done a few strategy games in the past.
Did they do the first one?
Total
No,
War.
they didn't.
Total War.
Okay.
That's
so,
a pretty strategy category.
Yeah, exactly. That's a pretty good developer for it. So, I mean, I loved the first Halo Wars. I know some people didn't. But I thought it was an awesome game. So I'm pretty excited to see what they do with this one.
I actually never played the Halo Wars, but I will definitely
didn't.
This one. No.
Wow.
Maybe I played it briefly, like at your house.
Uh-huh.
At it. But.
What, I don't know. I like Halo, and I really like strategy games. So when it came out, I was like, oh, perfect. So
yeah, Halo was initially supposed to be a strategy game.
Really?
Changed it to a first-person shooter, yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Why did they switch?
I don't know.
I'm going to look that up.
It's a good thing they did, because they put Xbox on the map, really.
Yeah, because I don't... An RTS wouldn't do it.
No, definitely. That was what lured me to get an Xbox way back in the day, the original.
Oh, really?
Instead of PlayStation 2, I guess.
I didn't know that either.
Yep.
Huh.
Playing it at a friend's house, I was enamored with the original Halo, so...
So that's when you got one?
Yep.
I didn't know that. Wow, which friend was it?
Kyle.
Oh, it was Kyle. Okay, I didn't know if it was him or Graham.
Yep, no, Kyle. All right.
But, that's it for Halo Wars 2.
Sounds good. What do you got, Corey?
I've got a game called Elder Scrolls Legends.
Ooh.
Game I'm actually kind of excited about since they teased it at E3 a little bit. I think they had a teaser trailer. I don't recall exactly. But it's a collectible card game set in the Elder Scrolls universe. There is literally no information about it.
Yeah.
It's coming to iOS and PC, and it's being developed by Dire Wolf Digital, which is another studio that has made a few games you've never heard of. Or maybe you have, but I hadn't. And that's really all we know. I went on there's a dedicated subreddit, tried to read a bunch of preview articles. They really don't know anything, but it's supposed to come out this year.
Yeah.
And
there's actually a few games that I wanted to cover that had no information about them, so I was just like, well, I'll just pick something else. But go ahead, Corey.
That's all. That's really that's all we know, and that's all I have to say about it.
Coming this year.
Allegedly.
Right. Allegedly. All right. My next game also doesn't have a ton of information, but it's an interesting game, is The Legend of Zelda. It's developed and published by Nintendo, obviously. It's going to be the first open-world Zelda game where the player is given the freedom to traverse the landscape as they see fit. It's more open-world. I know some people had said, like, Wind Waker was kind of open-world, but it really wasn't. You were kind of... you kind of had to follow things in order, and the areas were isolated by the huge ocean that you had to traverse. So
Yeah.
this one has apparently multiple ways you can get to things, and you can go in different orders to accomplish different objectives. But what I thought was interesting about this is a lot of people want to see this as a maybe not only on the Wii U but also as a launch title for the NX, the Nintendo's new console. So it'd be interesting to see what they end up doing with it.
I was gonna joke NX exclusive.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? I think they should put it on both. I really do, like they did with Twilight Princess on GameCube and Wii. There's no reason not to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I still don't know what the NX is, but
yeah, I've been reading a lot of like rumors about it. It's pretty interesting stuff.
I think there's a nibble bit, right?
There is a nibble bit. Corey, did you post that so we can talk about it?
I'm sorry. In the chat, what's up?
The Nintendo NX?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so we'll talk about that later. But yeah, it's interesting. I hope to hear more about it.
Yeah, same here.
Will, go ahead.
My next one is Terraria Otherworld. Now, this got announced, I think, last year and was supposed to come out, but I don't think it ever did. But this is set in an alternate dimension within the Terraria universe, places players in a struggle to restore the corrupted world. There's a couple new features in this, like new items, furniture, enemies. It's more defensive style of game, and you can like set turrets that can be upgraded and help defend an area. There are dedicated wing equipped slots, so you can like fly around and stuff. Different ways to fight corruption. The new corrupted forms of areas such as dirt and snow. There's going to be weather in the game. An example is lightning, which is pretty cool.
Don't be wielding your sword and out when there's a lightning storm, right?
Yeah, it'll attract all the electricity.
Right.
And there's a few other stuff like grappling hooks, new crafting areas, and enemies. So I'm pretty interested in this game. It's supposed to come out, I think over the summer of this year, I think I read. So.
Nice.
I'm excited for it, Will.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. It looks pretty awesome, too. Like, it looks... Terraria, like, has a nice art style, but this, like, looks better, in my opinion.
What platforms?
PC that I'm aware of.
Okay. Because I think Terraria pretty soon is coming to the 3DS, which I think is a perfect fit for it.
It's one of those games like Minecraft that's out for everything.
Yeah.
So you can
it's on mobile devices and stuff too.
Yeah, there's like no reason to not play it.
Yeah.
Really. All I'm seeing is PC as of right now.
Okay, that's the only announce. It'll probably come to everything, like you said.
Yeah, at some point.
All right. Corey.
Yes. Game. I have another game that I'm excited about. I thought the trailer for it was cool anyway, called Recore. Do you guys remember the E3?
Yes, I do.
Recore teaser?
Yes, I do.
So it's an action-adventure game for Xbox One and PC. As I mentioned, it was revealed at E3 last year. It's the one with the woman in the desert with the robot dog, and they run into some bad guy robots, and the dog explodes to destroy the robots, and then the woman picks up the glowing sphere that was in the robot dog and inserts it into a human robot guy.
It's probably called a core.
Yeah.
If I had to guess.
That's a good guess. And activates the robot man, and they seem to know each other. So almost like the soul of the dog is within that core.
Yeah.
It's developed by Concept, which is a studio founded by, I'm going to butcher his name, but Keiji Inafune, who made some of the first Mega Man games. And partnered with Armature, who did Metroid Prime 3 and Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate. Is that DLC?
No, that Blackgate is, I think, mobile.
Mobile, okay.
Mobile and or Vita, I think.
Okay. So it's an interesting pairing for a game that I thought would just be one of those action-adventure... Well, I guess Metroid kind of fits with the vibe I got.
Yeah.
But then another game we just saw the teaser. We have no info about. and it's supposed
Yeah.
to come out second quarter of this year.
The teaser contained enough elements in it that I'm interested in the game.
Yes.
You know, the woman wandering in a desert, in a ruinous desert, with a robot dog. It's kind of science fiction-y, so that's immediately piques my interest. It's interesting looking. Anyway, glad it's coming to PC too.
Yeah.
That it, Corey?
That's it.
All right. My next game is called Hyper Light Drifter, coming to PC, Mac, Linux, Xbox One, PS4, Wii U, and PS Vita. Developed by Heart Machine. It is a 2D action RPG inspired by Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past and Diablo. You play as the Drifter, who is searching for a cure to his disease. Apparently, it harkens back to SNES days, where games were perfectly crafted to fit the system, which I thought was an interesting concept. It's supposedly a little more focused than a lot of the games out there nowadays. But really, the most striking thing about Hyper Light Drifter is the art style, which is very, very nice looking. You definitely have to see the game in action to truly appreciate it. But it's a definite buy on my list. I've been waiting for this one for quite a while. It was announced maybe like 3 years ago, and development. It was kickstarted like maybe 3 years ago or 2 years, a while ago.
Yeah, like 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, they've had to delay it a few times, and the creator has had health problems. He's spent his life fighting heart disease, hence the Drifter character looking for a cure to his disease. So, very interesting stuff.
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's a neat looking game. I watched someone play it on Twitch for a while. Maybe it was IGN or someone like that do a fairly lengthy playthrough of it, and it looked really good. So It's all going to matter how it plays, you know.
Is there a window for it to come out?
No,
Just
2016.
Dan, gameplay doesn't matter in video games.
No,
Just kidding. What are you drinking? What is that orange?
it's water with Mio energy flavoring.
I meant to try that.
It's good. It's a little caffeine boost and flavor for the water.
Sometimes you just get sick of coffee.
Yeah. Well, I never get sick of coffee, but I don't always like drinking hot beverage all day. So.
And you're not an iced coffee drinker?
Yeah, but meh. I like to drink a lot of water, so this is a way of flavoring it and caffeinating it. So, yeah. What do you got, Will?
My next one's Overwatch. So I have no idea if we talked about this on our last games preview.
I think we just mentioned it when we were finishing up, and we're like, hey, we didn't talk about Overwatch.
Yeah, because it has roughly a June release date. Overwatch is Blizzard's multiplayer first-person shooter. So I played a little bit of this game. There is 2 game modes in the game right now. One is point capture, which is attacking team must capture points in the map while defending team must stop them. This is kind of like a little bit like Rush and Battlefield, except without the expanding map and all that stuff. And then there's payload, where the attacking team must escort a vehicle to a certain delivery point before time runs out. But the defending team has to try and stop them, and the vehicle will move along a fixed path when a attacking team player is by it. So there's different roles in the game. There's offense, which are high mobility characters and known for doing large amount of damage. There's defense, which excel at protecting specific locations. There are tank characters, which like soak up the damage, and then there's support, which heal and give buffs to the team and whatnot. I'm really excited for this game. I don't know about the rest of you guys. I don't even know if you guys are gonna get it anymore, right?
I'm trying not to be excited for it, but I really can't help it.
Oh, you are excited.
Yeah.
Good. So at least
probably
somebody to play with.
I probably will plunk down the $40 for it.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Corey?
Yeah, I'm interested. I definitely want to play it first.
Mm-hmm.
And what I envision it doing, because it's a Blizzard game, is I'll play my first game and I'll just destroy everybody. And I'll be like, this game's great! And then I'll pay for it. And then I'll start to suck.
all the cheap stuff. There's not cheap stuff, but there's a lot of like weird movement mechanics with some characters. So like the people who are like play the game all the time will get super good at it, and everybody will just fall behind that doesn't get to play it that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, who is a Tracer, that the character that jumps around all over the place?
Yeah, Tracer was the one I played a lot. She teleports from area to area really quickly, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I didn't want to get into this game, but I think I probably will end up getting into it.
This is a nibble bit of mine, but I'll just do it now while I'm talking about it. But Blizzard's going to bring it back, the beta, in mid-February.
Yep.
So I don't know if they're going to roll out more invites or not, but there's going to be a new game mode and maps. So
I would like to play it first, but if I can, I'll probably just end up buying it. Whatever.
I don't know if I get, since I was in the weekend, if I'll get in again or if I won't because they want to get new people in. But either way, if I get in, you can use my account to try it out.
Oh, yeah. I guess we can do that.
But yeah, that's Overwatch. Like I said, roughly it has a June release date estimated. So
coming to PC, PS4, and Xbox One. It's getting console releases too. It's going to be $40 for the standard, and there's a couple like special editions I think that you can get for it.
Yeah, 160 where you get like some skins and stuff like that.
Yeah, which is cool.
Yeah, I know skins was something a lot of people really wanted for the game because people buy them in Heroes all the time.
Yeah, there's no reason not to put cosmetic items like that in a game. I have no problem with that, even if you do have to pay full price for the game. Or it's not full price; it's only a $40 game, but
yeah,
I have no problem with cosmetic items in it.
Yeah, why not? It's something that I don't need to do, but if other people want to, spend the money on it, more power to them.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay. Corey, any thoughts on Overwatch?
Nah.
It's a try, right?
Try before you buy.
Yep. Okay. What do you got, Corey?
A little game called Doom.
Doom
is a reboot of the Doom series. It would be Doom 4. However, Doom 3 came out 12 years ago.
Wow.
You realize that?
It's crazy.
That is crazy.
That's a while.
But this one's coming out for PC, PS4, and Xbox One, and is being published by Bethesda. They showed quite a bit of gameplay at their E3 press conference last summer. If you're not sure what Doom is, it's a violent, bloody shooter with crazy monsters and lots of gore and mayhem. The developers said that they're not putting a lot of emphasis on the story because they felt it wasn't important to the franchise. I think that's a safe decision.
Yeah.
And they showed, what did they show in the trailer? There was some melee combat. The finishing moves were really violent and like ripping out hearts and stuff like that. That was pretty cool. They also showed the ripping the enemy's arm off to use it for a biometric scanner to open a door. That was pretty cool.
Okay.
But the developers also said they faced a challenge of having to create a shooter that could compete with the modern day Call of Duties and Battlefields and stuff like that, because the younger audience really doesn't have much relationship to Doom, if at all. And they had to figure out a way to get into that marketplace. But they felt like Bethesda would be a good help in that because they did that with Fallout.
Right.
And Fallout 3. They brought Fallout to a whole new generation of people.
Yeah.
And sort of somewhat remained faithful to the first games in the series.
Apparently people were complaining that it's not fast enough.
I don't know. That's what I thought when I originally watched the trailer. I'm like, it looks a little bit of a slower shooter.
Yeah.
And I even compared it to Halo early on, the first Halos, and what I liked about them. But it seemed at the time that people were saying it's really, really fast. So I don't know. I guess it depends on what your opinion of speed is.
Right.
I don't know. I'd have to play it. They did confirm it'll run at 1080p, 60 frames per second, which should make everybody happy.
Yep.
And the release date will be announced sometime in the first half of 2016. I have the video playing in the chat room right now. The live stream on twitch.tv/thumbstickathletes. So
yeah,
I thought it looked cool. I really did, and I was interested. It's what I want out of this kind of game. You know,
Definitely.
I don't need a story.
Yeah.
I just want to kill stuff in cool ways and have fun.
Yeah. That'll be a buy depending on when it decides to come out for me. If it comes out like in a month where I have to buy like 4 or 5 other games, then it'll probably be a wait. But I would like to play that. So okay. What are you guys giggling about?
The chat room's making me giggle. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's fine. Oh yeah, it's my turn next. Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord. I think we talked about Mountain Blade last week, wasn't it?
Yeah, we did.
This wasn't on the master list of games I saw coming out this year, but I was like, hey, I think this is supposed to come out this year. So
What was the subtitle?
Bannerlord, Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord.
Bannerlord.
It's developed by Tale Worlds Entertainment. It is a prequel to Mountain Blade Warband, set 200 years before the events of Warband. It takes place after the fall of the Calradian Empire, which is analogous, analogy to the fall of the Roman Empire and the rise of the early European kingdoms. It's supposed to take place like all the weapons and armor and clothing and stuff is set like 600 to 1200 AD. So the standard upgrades are being made, better graphics, textures, and animations, all being updated, blah, blah, blah. There's more advanced siege tactics, too, which was a big complaint from the first one. So you have more control in a siege of the stuff you're getting. So that's cool. I'm excited for it. I really like Mountain Blade Warband. I hope someone comes out with a Game of Thrones mod for Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord fairly shortly after it comes out. I'm sure they will. Because it's a perfect game for it. That's a buy for me.
Is there gameplay out for it right now?
There's a little bit. They've only released bits and pieces. So
Okay.
Yeah. Will, what do you got?
My next one, it's also my last one, is Fable Legends. This game pretty much disappeared for a little bit. It was supposed to have a beta by the end of last year, right? I think.
Yeah. Yep.
But it's coming earlier this year, and it's coming out at some point this year. But it's the free-to-play cooperative action role-playing game from Lionhead Studios. Basically, this game is the 4 versus 1 hero-villain gameplay. So each role may be filled by a player online or a multiplayer AI. You can do that, or you can have a mix of both. The same game experience is possible regardless of the multiplayer or single player. All of the game's story quests can be played single player using AI heroes as sidekicks or enemies. It's possible to play through the game's content as either the hero or the villain. So in each quest, the heroes must use teamwork to succeed in their objectives while the villain opposes them with an army of creatures. So there's a couple different characters in the game for heroes so far. There's the Sterling Prince Charming, who uses a sword. There's Winter, who uses will-based abilities and ice attacks. Rook uses a crossbow. There is a paladin-like character named Inga. And that's all the announcements so far. And the player can customize any hero ranging from different colors of outfits and types of outfits. And the customization will be unlocked either by playing the game or earned with in-game silver. And you can use real money if you'd like, or not. And there's going to be a hero rotation.
Free to play, right?
Yeah, it's free to play. A limited amount of heroes will be available for a given time. After the time runs up, there will be a new set of heroes. Any interest in this game?
I am interested.
Okay.
I like the asynchronous multiplayer. That's really interesting to me.
Okay. So we're all going to do this on PC then?
There's cross-platform, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So it doesn't matter what we play on.
Doesn't matter, which is not nice thing.
Let's start a Fable Legends podcast. Why are they why are they using the Fable IP?
You know,
I think just to attract attention.
Yeah.
Is it Lionshead Studios?
Yeah, Lionhead is doing it.
Interesting.
It is weird that they're using Fable, though.
That's the only thing I can think of is to get attention on it, because the Fable franchise is fairly established, even though they haven't had a new Fable in a while.
Does anybody want a new Fable?
I want a new Fable.
Well,
what kind of lofty promises they're going to make that they're not going to keep.
Yeah, I'd like a new Fable. But wasn't it BioWare that did the same type of game, but it was a new IP, and then they ended up just canceling it?
Don't recall.
Wasn't the Shadow something?
Oh.
Shadow.
Yeah. What was that?
Wasn't Shadow. That's going to bother me.
Yeah, I remember that. Now that you mention it, Will.
Shadow.
It was supposed to be like a modern day type of game, wasn't it?
Yeah, BioWare Shadow Realms.
Sounds right.
Canceled. Yeah, it was Shadow Realms. But yeah, it was the 4 versus 1 co-op RPG game. So
that's cool.
Maybe it was a good idea to use the Fable name.
Yeah, rather than try and come up with something different.
Yeah, but I'm interested in this game. I'm kind of excited to play it.
Yeah, agreed.
With you, Will.
Okay, what do you got, Corey?
Another game I didn't play. The original 2 is Dishonored 2. Another Bethesda game, also announced at E3 last year. I was really impressed with the trailer. I don't know if you guys remember, but everything you see in that trailer you can do in-game. And there's some pretty cool stuff that happens in that trailer.
You didn't play Dishonored?
No, I still haven't played it.
Really?
Yep.
I have it in my Steam library if you want to play it.
Same.
Maybe I will at some point. There's a lot of games I need to catch up on.
Yeah.
But Dishonored is action-adventure stealth RPG. It's being developed by Arcane, which did the first Dishonored, of course. Coming out for PC, PS4, and Xbox One. The setup for this one is that it takes place 15 years after the first game. The Empress is dethroned by an otherworldly usurper. Wah, wah, wah. So obviously your job is to help get it back. So you start the game as Empress Emily Caldwin, I believe her name is. I don't know if you guys recall. She was the princess in the first game.
It's been a while.
Dishonored fans, come on, you guys.
It was average for me. I didn't love it, but I do want to play it before the new one comes out.
I remember because back when the other one, like leading up to the release, I kept saying, like, I don't think it's going to be that good. I don't think it's going to be that good. And then you had played it the first time, and I was like, see, that's what I was talking about. Yeah. But I think it's one of those games that has aged very well.
Yeah, and some people, like, absolutely love it. It's some people's, like, favorite game ever. And there's still people that play it a ton, you know?
Yep. And one of the reasons they give for that is people are just keep coming up with really creative combinations for the abilities.
There's still videos that get posted occasionally on whatever of really interesting ways that people figure out how to kill people. Like, I don't know, catching bullets and like, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
Definitely have to watch it, but.
Yeah. So I guess in this one, just playing off of that, they added a way to combine abilities or something like that. Because I didn't play the first one, I didn't totally understand it, but it kind of sounds like, the blink ability was really big, but now you can add like a modification to the blink ability that you can swap in and out with other modifications to get a different effect.
Oh,
so they're hoping people come up with more creative and clever uses of those abilities. But as I was saying, you start Dishonored 2 as Emily Caldwin, and then you can choose to play as her or Corvo Attano, who was the protagonist in the first game. They have the same missions, they're just shown from different perspectives, but they also have a different set of abilities. Apparently Corvo has a lot of his abilities that he had in the first game. And some of the abilities that Emily will have were shown in the trailer. Like I said, everything you see in that announcement trailer you can do with her in-game. The developers said it would be more challenging. I guess the first one was kind of easy. They said you can do
I didn't have an easy time with it.
You didn't have an easy time with it?
No, but I was also really bad at stealth games.
Right.
I've gotten better, so.
It's impatience.
Yeah.
Believe me.
I've gotten better with it.
Yes. You know what does that? Children.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
Improved your patience.
Oh, absolutely.
They also said there is improved AI. They're better at searching for you. I read something that described it like if there's other enemy AIs in the area, they'll search as a group and split up and cover different spots.
Makes sense.
But they won't go to a place that an enemy has already. One guy won't go to a place that has already been searched. So there's that, and also they're better at understanding combat situations. Another example the article I was reading cited was if there's two bad guys and one of them has a rifle and the other one has a melee weapon, then the one with the rifle knows to stay back and, you know, pepper you with shots while the one with the melee weapon goes up to you and tries to fight you.
Nice.
Which sounds simple, but maybe it wasn't quite that in the first game.
Sounds stupid.
Yeah. It's going to run on a new engine that's based on id Tech 6. I guess the first one ran on Unreal Engine 3. Yeah. And it's slated to come out in the spring.
Really?
Apparently.
They better announce it.
Yeah.
Spring's rapidly approaching. 2 months.
It's almost there.
Yeah. It's anywhere from 2 to 5 months, I guess. Spring.
5 months if you're in upstate New York.
Oh, no, yeah, it'll be longer than that. Probably. Yeah. All right. Next game on my list is called Below for PC and Xbox One. Developed by Capybara Games, it's an action-adventure roguelite with top-down perspective of a tiny warrior exploring the depths of a remote island. It's time console exclusive on Xbox, so apparently it's coming to PS4 later on, but also on PC. It features permadeath and difficult but fair combat. It's another one that has kind of a very neat-looking art style. It's kind of, I don't want to say barren, but simplistic in a nice looking way.
Like Journey?
Nah, not like Journey. Even more simple than that.
Monument Valley?
I never played Monument Valley.
That was a good game.
But Below looks neat. That's all I have to say about that. Go ahead, Will.
I only had 4 or 5 games.
Okay, you got it.
How
Corey,
many were we supposed to cover?
doesn't matter. However you want, however many you want. Corey, do you have any more games?
I have one more.
One more. Let's hear it.
Final Fantasy 15.
Woo!
Which I said to myself, I've heard so much about this game, is it even worth me talking about it? Because if you want to find out information about it, it's really easy to find. They've put out a ton of information about Final Fantasy 15, which kind of makes sense considering it's been in development since
Ever.
2006. When back then it was called Final Fantasy Versus 13.
Oh yeah! Wow.
Yeah.
10 years.
2006.
Versus 13.
Yes. Wikipedia listed it as an action RPG. I don't know if that's their default for JRPG, but I just thought it was interesting that they didn't list it as a
supposed to
JRPG.
have more combat,
Right.
more actiony combat, like
Type 0.
Type 0.
Yes. So it's being developed by Square Enix, of course, for PS4 and Xbox One. PC wasn't listed. I would really love to have Final Fantasy 15 on PC, but
I'm sure they're going to release it on PC. They're putting everything on PC now, so
that's true. It's this point. This is a little contentious, but it's the third game in the Fabula Nova Crystallis sub-series. Maybe there was a rumor that came out fairly recently, maybe within the last couple months, that it was removed. That portion of the mythos was removed from the game. But that's not confirmed. The Fabula Nova Crystallis subseries is Final Fantasy 13, Final Fantasy Type 0, and maybe Final Fantasy 15. And it's just that mythos, the Lassie and the... Did you guys play the games?
no. I played.
I have
Type
13 downloaded on my PC, but that's about it.
So you don't really know what I'm talking about. But just the whole characters and the myths behind them are shared. It's sort of a shared universe, but not literally. You know what I'm trying to say? Am I saying that right?
There's a common lore to the world, but
Yeah, there you
go. Not like the same game.
A common mythos. Yeah.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah. The setup for Final Fantasy 15 is that there are a number of nations. Each had their own crystal, but because of wars, there was only one remaining crystal left with one of the nations. That nation succeeds and is technologically advanced. The others start to crumble and collapse. The other ones are taken over by an empire. So the game starts with the last nation that has the crystal being taken over, the crystal and the last nation, by the evil empire. And your job is, obviously, to fix everything, to get your nation and the crystal back. And you play... I read there's only one playable character, and that is Noctis, the crown prince of the last nation that's taken over. That's the character you play as. They talked a lot about it featuring a darker atmosphere with more realistic characters and emotions. I think that's the... They talked a lot about the Western influence, and I think that's the influence showing through a little bit. The more realistic characters.
Mm-hmm.
Because you look at games like Mass Effect and stuff like that, they have normal emotions, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas JRPGs, they're a little cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Go ahead.
They've done a nice job when they've done a more Western style RPG. Like that's how we got Dark Souls and Dragon's Dogma is another example of that.
Yeah, they're learning, and people still really like JRPGs. There's definitely an audience for that, very specific.
I still like JRPGs.
Absolutely, me too. We were just talking about Tales of Zestiria in the chat.
Yeah.
Open world environment, which, as you mentioned, Dan, plays into the action combat, which is much more similar to Type 0. There's no loading screen between battles. You just run up to an enemy and start fighting it. They compared the combat to Kingdom Hearts and Type 0, which we discussed. So it's, and action is tied to a certain button rather than cycling through menus to pick what you want to do. The only loading screens in the game, actually, are when you enter towns.
That's crazy.
That's pretty cool. We've seen a lot of the vehicular travel, which looks cool, riding around in cars.
Yeah, there's convertible with your bros.
Yeah, which is another big part of the game is that they wanted it to feel like a travel story rather than a bunch of random jokers put together with a mutual goal. It's like a group of friends traveling out on the open roads, which I think is a very Western thing, a very United States kind of manifest destiny kind of thing.
Sure. A lot of open country in the United States and not so much in Japan.
Yeah, a lot of open highway.
Yep.
There's chocobos though, so don't worry about that. I did think it was funny. The person who repairs the cars it's a woman named Sydney.
Oh.
Rather than Sid, the mechanic. I like that. That was nice.
Nice touch.
Day and night, and weather systems, which affect enemy types and their abilities. It's starting to sound more and more like Xenoblade.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
And because I think there's like giant stuff running around too, which reminded me a lot of Xenoblade.
Behemoths.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm excited for it. I'm also very wary of it because it is Final Fantasy when we haven't had a really, really good one of those in a long time.
Since 9? I didn't play 10, so I don't know if that's good or not.
I think 9 was just good. I wouldn't put it up there with 6 and 7, Right. People liked 10, but I don't know. I played a little bit of 12. I thought 12 was better than 10. Granted, I didn't play all of 10, and I didn't play all of 12, so I don't know.
Right.
I got a question for you, Corey.
Mm-hmm.
Do I play Final Fantasy 13?
No.
No?
No.
Even as somebody who's interested in trying it?
I'd tell you to try it just to get an understanding of it, but the problem with that game is that it takes 30 hours to get an before they give you all the systems and like the game becomes full.
Fun.
And it's like you're not going to play it for 30 hours. At that point, you might as well just finish it. And I think it's a waste of time. You could probably get away with playing 2. You might like that because the combat system in 13 is clever. I didn't love it like most people did. I thought it was predictable and kind of
formulaic.
Yeah, but it is clever at the very least.
Okay.
I've talked about it on this podcast before, but the combat system in that game is you're constantly switching your class on the fly, essentially. But because enemies repeat themselves so often, once you figure out the combination of classes to switch between, you're just doing that over and over again, and you know exactly what to do. And
So you
even
can
when you're
fly
fighting,
through it.
right, even when you're fighting bosses, you figure out the best way to switch between the classes, and then you're just doing that over and over and over and over again. So, yeah. But that's all I have for Final Fantasy 15. Honestly, they put out information on that game almost weekly.
Yeah.
So, if you're interested, definitely just do a Google search.
That's right. Anything else, Corey?
No, that's all I have for preview.
Right. Nibblebits. Why don't you get started with Nibblebits, Corey?
Oh no, I didn't.
You didn't have any Nibblebits?
No, I did. I just didn't put them all. I didn't flesh them out as much as I would have liked. That's okay.
I can go if you'd like.
No. Some release dates. Prison Architect is coming to consoles this spring. That's the PC prison management simulator. For PS4, Xbox, it's gonna be $30. That's one I bought on Steam in early one of the very few games I bought in early access. I enjoyed it. I haven't played it since its full release though, so I'll have to give it a try before I can speak to that. Bravely Second comes to North America April 15th with a 10-hour demo.
Wow,
Confirmed.
10 hours.
Yeah. That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
Good way to test the waters, especially for a game like that,
That might be enough for some people to get their fill of it and move on.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm glad that initially, I think even in Europe, like Fire Emblem and Bravely Second are supposed to come out right around the same time, and I'm glad they're not.
That would be tough.
Yeah,
to try and do.
I'm glad Bravely Second got moved to April. That's good.
Yeah, me too.
Yes, sir. Kind of makes me wish I still had a 3DS. I saw they had 2DSs for like $60 or something like that.
Yeah.
Recently.
Yeah.
That's a steal.
That is a pretty good steal. The Westport Independent. That's the censorship simulator. That's a lot like Papers, Please. I played the beta I told you guys about. I talked about it on the podcast a little bit. That comes out the 21st of January, which is today.
Ooh.
All right.
Kotaku had a write-up of it. They didn't have a review. I haven't read any reviews, but I really liked it, so I'm going to play it.
Yeah, I'll play it.
Anyway.
No.
So that's good. The Witness, Jonathan Blow's next game, was rated for Xbox, which led a lot of people to believe it was going to be released for Xbox. However, he came out and said later on they only had it rated for Xbox because it was free to do it when they had it rated for PS4. Versus if down the line they decide they want to release it on Xbox, then they got to pay again to have it rated.
That
Probably
makes
comes
sense.
eventually to Xbox.
Yeah, but Jonathan Blow has also been pretty outspoken against Microsoft and the Xbox, so who knows? If he's having his own personal thing, then that's fine. But, it's good to at least have the foresight to get it rated now, just in case.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the Fire Emblem Fates drugging scene was altered in the West. Did you guys read about that at all?
I did.
I didn't.
So apparently there's a scene in the new Fire Emblem game that's supposed to come out this year, right? This year, yeah.
Yep.
Next month.
Where there is a gay woman character, and another character, the main character, drugs her so that she sees women as men. So I guess in the West it could be taken as like a homosexual curing.
Wow.
Isn't that strange?
Yeah.
That is very strange.
So they're removing all mention of that drugging, quote unquote drugging, I should say, for Western audiences. I mean, I get it. It's probably better to do that than to face the wrath of social justice warriors. But I'm one of those people that wants to experience
The way the developer intended.
exactly.
Yeah. It seems like
whether I'm
unnecessary.
offended or not. I want to.
It seems like it's unnecessary, like walking on eggshells.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I don't know to what extent Japan sees the social justice warrior thing in the West. Do they even care? I don't know.
Well, it's probably localization that changed it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm wondering is like if I'm a developer in Japan, do I even know how people would react to something like
no.
that over here? Does it
No.
get that far? I mean,
I wouldn't think so.
yeah.
It's a very American thing.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that line of thinking is a
Yeah.
very American
I could
thing.
see that. I'd be curious to see hear the conversation that was discussed between the localization team and the developer. You know, like, hey, this kind of thing doesn't look so good in the West. And I mean, it sounds kind of like an aside to the story. So I imagine they'd just be like, okay, that's fine, just change it. You know, we get it. That's fine.
Yeah, because it's a character interaction between the characters, right?
Right.
So that's like the relationship, the like A, B,
Yeah.
C, S.
Probably
Okay.
not crucial to the overall plot of the game.
Yeah, but a lot of the plot in Fire Emblem is the relationship between the different characters.
Well, no, because you could
that's-
never see that.
What do you mean?
You could never see that relationship stuff if you
No, I
don't
know,
pursue
but
those relationships.
It's a very important theme in the Fire Emblem series is the relationships between the characters.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying it's not a big part of the game. I'm just saying in terms of the plot of the game.
Yeah.
You know, the through line, the A to B of what you experience in the game, it's probably not crucial. And something like that they could easily replace with a few lines of dialogue, you know?
I mean that's an interesting storyline. I would have liked to have seen how that whole situation ended up, you know.
Well, he drugs her.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, so she sees women or men as women.
Right.
So then she falls in love with your character.
I would like to see how that reveal goes, though, is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
The final moments of that storyline between those characters would be interesting.
That would be interesting.
That's why we can't have nice things.
No. We certainly cannot. That's all I didn't flesh this one out enough. Loot drops of some sort are coming to Rocket League. I read about it, and apparently with the multiplayer stuff, the ranked play, you get items specific to the multiplayer only with the new update. And again, I wanted to flesh it out a little bit more, but I forgot to do that in my notes. So I don't have the specifics. But the Season 1 is coming to a close soon. So they're going to add that with the introduction of Season 2.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
That's all I got.
You've got one more.
Oh, the Nintendo NX stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. I didn't even write that down. I knew I tweeted it.
While you're getting that,
How
Corey.
dare-
Yeah.
Dan, are we both buying the 2 Fire Emblem games? Is that what's happening?
No, we can each buy one of them.
Okay.
Work.
Which
So-
one you want?
Didn't we both agree that opposite one sounded cooler? Didn't you want to do Birthright?
I'm good to do whatever.
Well, me too. But I think we had this discussion before, and I think you said you thought Birthright sounded more interesting, where I thought Conquest sounded more interesting.
Yes, because you said Birthright's more defensive, and the other one was more. Okay, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I'll get Conquest, you can get Birthright, and then we'll switch when we're done.
That looks like I'm pre-ordering now.
Beautiful.
Okay, I got it.
All right, let's hear it.
So there was a rumor making the internet rounds that the Nintendo NX will tie into or have some sort of interactivity between mobile and PC.
Uh-huh.
Whatever it happens to be. So let me just read this one paragraph here, which I thought was interesting.
There's a lot of rumors floating around right now about the NX, and Nintendo needs to just clarify everything.
Yeah. So Gibson's, these are where the rumors came from. Gibson's comments came alongside Macquarie Research Japan giving Nintendo an improved finance rating, which subsequently saw the company's stock prices rise by 9.07%.
Wow.
This comes at the start of a very important year for the company. I think something like that would play really well. And the reason I think that is because everybody has a mobile device. Almost everybody has a PC.
Of
or
some
a
sort.
laptop, whatever. And if the video games that Nintendo are known for play into that, I think it's a perfect pairing. People see Mario and they're like, "Oh, I have I already have half of what I need. You know,
Right.
all I need is this other half, and I can play Mario games on my mobile device. I mean, we don't know exactly to what extent the interactivity will be, but I imagine it's the type of thing where you're pushing games to your phone or your PC or.
There was a rumor, I believe it was today that, or no, it was analyst predictions that the NX is actually going to be two separate things: a mobile, handheld, whatever, and then the console version of that. And that the mobile version will come out later this year, and the like console part of it will come out next year. That was today, I think that came out. But there's also some of the patents that were filed for it seem to lend. I read a rumor maybe about a month ago that you can piggyback the systems together to increase the power and graphical fidelity of the system. That's an interesting thought. If that ever happens, there's a lot of different things floating around.
And
Prices, resolutions. There's just so much
they talk
crap
about
Nintendo needs to clear up, I think.
4K video streaming was a big part of that.
Yep.
And then like 900p
900p 60 FPS gameplay, which that was on a survey, which a lot of people don't think that that's accurate. That's just testing consumer response to some potential things for the system. Because 900p 60 FPS would not be a Wii U upgrade, I guess. At least for some games. Some games ran 1080p 60 FPS. Some ran, I think Mario Kart is like 720p 60 frames per second. Maybe Mario Kart 8. So that would be an upgrade from that. But
So I wonder how much of this is like the rumors going around, or just like people wish lists like for what the NX will be.
yeah, I try to pick out like analyst stuff because
Okay.
some of them can get it, and then a lot of the stuff was taken from there was a consumer survey that leaked online with supposed information about the NX. Apparently, one of the websites or whatever that I follow said that they talked to someone who had previously worked for that company that was doing the survey, and that stuff isn't always correct. That sometimes they put in, like I said, just stuff to test, consumer responses to different specs or whatever. So that's not necessarily factual.
I wonder what Nintendo's waiting for if they're releasing it this year.
I don't know. I wish they'd just give me some information so I can freaking pre-order it.
Tell you what, it's going to be a lot of fun. Nintendo's E3 this summer.
Yeah.
Especially if they wait until then to reveal any information. I hope they don't.
Yeah.
I need to know. Like I said, I want to have it pre-ordered on Amazon as soon as I can, so I can get one on day one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with the NX.
I believe, if you guys remember, my original speculation was that it was 2 parts that you can split apart and use together. So maybe, I don't know. We've predicted some Nintendo stuff in the past pretty well.
Yes, we have.
The Pokemon thing.
Yeah.
To a T.
To a T. I wish we knew what episode that was in. If anyone knows in the chat or any listeners know what episode we talked about that Pokemon mobile thing. It was from years ago.
Yeah.
But if you happen to come across it, let us know what episode, because I would like to pull that clip that we talked about that.
I'll tell you what, if you're listening and you want to do some digging and you find the time code that we discussed that in our podcast, we'll give you a free game from our library of games we have available for gifts.
Steam.
Yeah. Steam games. Yeah. Definitely Steam.
We'll probably give you a few, right?
Yeah, give you a couple. Depends on what you want.
I've got a few Steam games on my list. We'll give you a list of what we have.
Yeah. You can pick. Because as much as I like going back and listening to old episodes, that would be a tough one to find. Do we have an idea? It was definitely after, a few. I think we were 100 episodes in at least.
Maybe, maybe not. I honestly couldn't tell you. It might have been, I would say after at least like 25.
Maybe a good place to start would be with the episodes we talk about Pokemon.
Yeah.
I feel like we've talked about it a ton of times, though.
You could probably go back and listen to the Pokemon start with the Pokemon Red Blue, the newest Pokemon game. We did an episode on, right?
Yeah, but I don't. I think we had talked about it before that. I don't know.
I do too.
Yeah, I would love to have that clip. That'd be great. But anyway, yeah. I'll go next for Nibble Bits. The MMORPG Black Desert Online has is it Desert or Desert? I have it Desert. Desert?
It's definitely not Black Desert, Dan.
I have it written as Desert for some reason. But anyway, Black Desert Online has released their excellent character creator tool as a standalone on the Black Desert website. And then if you happen to like any of your creations, they can be imported into the actual full game. The beta for it begins February 18th. This is the character creator that pretty much allows you to do whatever you want. It's very, very finely detailed character creator that I will definitely download at some point.
Like extend the length of the chin.
Yeah, they said it's like having a lump of clay that you can pretty much make into anything you want, rather.
That sounds good.
Yeah. Graphically, it also looks really good. So that's that. Humble Bundle has come out with another absolute steal of a bundle in the Humble Firaxis bundle. For $1, you get XCOM Enemy Unknown, Sid Meier's Pirates, Ace Patrol bundle, and the Civilization 3 Complete. If you pay more than the average, which right now is about $10, you get Civ 4 Complete, Civ 5, Sid Meier Starships, XCOM Enemy Unknown, or Enemy Within, rather, and Slingshot and Elite Soldier packs for Enemy Unknown. And then for $15 or more, you get Civilization Beyond Earth with the Exoplanets pack and a 33% off voucher for the Beyond Earth Rising Tide expansion.
Wow.
So that's a pretty damn good Humble Bundle if you don't have those games.
I was going to say...
I have all those games but Ace Patrol bundle. So
yeah. That's the thing. Those games have been discounted in the past, and the Firaxis likes to do, or maybe it's the 2K game packs for the Steam sales and stuff like that. So all
these games have been cheap at one point or another.
Right, but now's a good chance if you don't have them to, especially XCOM. That's one of those games I'd recommend to more of a mass audience than Civ.
Absolutely, and XCOM 2 is coming out in like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So,
is there any interactivity between the two? You port like a save or anything?
I don't think so, but it looks amazing. I watched an hour-long preview of it.
Yeah,
and it looks fantastic. I cannot wait for it. One of the more interesting things that they have in XCOM 2 is, I mean, part of the fun was naming the soldiers after yourself and people you know. In this one, that you can do it in the menu, and you can set the people to be squad members or like VIP personnel that you have to rescue, or people that you come across like scientists and stuff, but also like enemies. So you can set that. So you put the people into the game, and they're just like, every time you start a new game, those people can be in the game, rather than when you start a game, then you create all your soldiers actually in the game, and then like when they die, you don't replace them or whatever. But so this time, anytime you start a new game, those people will be in there, and tons of customization options. It's really, really well done. I cannot wait for XCOM 2.
Is there multiplayer?
I think so. I don't know. I never played multiplayer in the first one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks good.
I'm excited. What's the date again? February
5th.
Oh, that's right.
Right before Eric's wedding.
Hey, we got a rehearsal dinner, and then we can go home and play XCOM.
I mean, I'll probably be up at midnight when it comes out, so I'll play it then, and then afterwards.
There you go.
That's all I got for Nibblebits. Will, what do you have for Nibblebits?
My first one is that the Obsidian lead designer is up for working on another Fallout game. Now, there's no news on Obsidian doing another Fallout, but Eric Fenstermaker, lead designer of Obsidian, responded to people crying out for them to make the next Fallout. He said, "I'm always up for working on a Fallout. I think most of us generally are. really fun property to work with. Now, I'm going to talk about Fallout a little bit later, so I'm not going to get too much into it. But I've cooled off on Fallout 4 quite a lot.
Yeah, you're coming around.
Slowly, but yeah, I am.
You're seeing the light side.
Yeah, I'll talk about it more, but I didn't realize New Vegas was as loved as it is. For all the issues that the game had when it first launched, and it didn't hit its Metacritic bonus target. But like everybody talks about that game on Reddit, and it's like it's magical how much they love it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it had a lot of the complex RPG systems that people missed from Fallout 4.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing with me, really.
Same.
And I think, if I remember correctly, I was not happy with New Vegas when it came out. Bugs.
Well, because it didn't work.
Yeah. Right.
But I guess now it's pretty
really
awesome.
It still really doesn't work if you play the vanilla. You still have to download mods to get it to work right.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
Okay.
Anyway, my next one is that a couple little heroes are coming to Heroes of the Storm. So the next one coming out is Li Ming, who is the Diablo 3 wizard, which is the only character from the classes you can have in Diablo 3 that wasn't in. And she's going to be a ranged assassin. Now, the wizard was the character that I made, so she's going to be right up my alley. Apparently, she has a high skill cap, so if you're really skilled with her, you're going to dominate. And the other one is a fan favorite, Zool, the Diablo 2 Necromancer, which a lot of people didn't think they would do any Diablo 2 characters before they did all of Diablo 3. So it's surprising to see that they did a Diablo 2 character, which is good for the people who don't like Diablo 3 that much. And he's going to be a melee specialist, which is a little bit different from the other specialists in the game. But these are two pretty awesome heroes, and I literally cannot wait for either of them to come out.
Nice.
When's Deckard Cain coming to Here's a Storm?
They said a while ago that they have no plans for him yet, but in the future.
I'd make a great character. I'd really like to see what they did with it, you know?
Well, his thing is sit down and stay a while.
Yeah.
So a lot of people want, like, his ultimate is for, like, sit down and stay a while and have everybody stunned for, like, a second or two or whatever.
That's perfect. Enemies and allies. That'd be awesome. For, like, way too long. Like, 30 seconds.
Sit everyone down.
See, Blizzard is doing a lot of really cool things. So if they did that, they would be the ones that would do something like that.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, they're really not afraid to mix up the game with new weird characters.
No, like the most recent map is like really different. I've been playing a little bit again too, because Greymane came out, and I really like Greymane.
Will fell off the wagon.
He is well.
I didn't fall off the wagon. I played consistently all year.
I'm just teasing.
I'm not Eric here.
It's one of those things where, I mean, I used to have that too. It's the game that you always end up going back to, and I don't have one of those right now.
Well, yeah, I just play like a match or two every night, every couple of nights or whatever.
It's a game you just keep coming back to.
Exactly, and even Eric said when these two heroes got announced that it's about that time.
Had to get back into it.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's it for my nibble bits.
Nice. How was your week, Will?
Do I have a lot of stuff for you guys?
Oh boy, I'm excited.
I actually wrote down a lot of it. Well, the talking points, because I always forget, and I knew I had a lot, and I didn't want to just like, I don't know, I got nothing.
Yeah.
So the first thing is I had a birthday last week on
Hey.
Tuesday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, I hit 21.
Hey.
And to celebrate my birthday, I played Skyrim, pumped some iron, and crashed my car. I don't know if you got the full story, Dan.
No, Mom told me a little bit about it, but that's it.
I told Corey because Mom FaceTimed him a little bit later that night, and I told Eric because Eric was at work.
Uh-huh.
So what happened was I was leaving the gym at around like 7:10, and I was going through Enwell, and the roads were fine. Everything was pretty clear, but it was like very lightly snowing. And then I hit Taft and Twist Run, and for whatever reason, it wasn't touched. Like it
That
was,
spot's bad always.
and because it wasn't snowing and the roads were clear, I figured, oh, it's fine. So I went down. I slid basically from the fire station all the way down like 4 or 5 times, but I was able to catch it a bunch of times, so I didn't like crash. And I was at the point where like I was like, do I brake? Do I just go fast? But like if I went fast and lost control, I would have died.
Yeah.
So I just decided to brake again, and the car slid really, really bad, like at the very end, like right before you can turn off of to go on. I don't even know what road it is.
Yeah.
I lost control and I cut the wheel the wrong way in a panic because it was like it was a really bad slide, and I just went right into a ditch. I was very, very, very mad at myself because I had never been into an accident. I never got a ticket, so.
Explain how bad in a ditch are you? Are you like is the car on its side or?
No, the front part of it was just in the ditch,
Okay.
and the rest of it was like half out with the wheels, like your typical one. The car wasn't in on the side at all.
Yeah. I hit a deer. I hit a deer and slid into a ditch one time, and it was just enough so that the front wheels were off the road, and I couldn't back up. I could have like driven away.
Yeah.
It was just enough that I couldn't like back up onto the road.
Yeah, same with me. I just couldn't get out. So I was like, I've never been in this position. So I called Dad. At this point, it's pretty much a blizzard. Roads are really bad, and Dad has the Saturn.
Wait, I want to hear how the conversation went.
I was like, "Hey, Dad," and he was at the Maine Endwell basketball game, I'm pretty sure, or wrestling.
Yeah,
he was doing one of those too. So I called him.
He was in town already. Luckily,
he was in town already. He was like a minute or two from where I was, but I called, and he was like, "What?" And it's really loud, so like you can't really hear great. I'm like, "I'm in a ditch," or I don't remember exactly what I said. And he's like, asked me like what happened, so I told him, and then he said, "Let me call you back." So he got off the phone. It was only for like a minute, but it felt like 10 years. Yeah. As I was sitting there in the car, because the spot is a really bad spot to be in. I was afraid like another car was going to
come down the hill.
Yeah, and just smash into me, and I was like, I'm gonna die here. On my birthday, 21st. So he calls back. Will. I lived enough years, I think. So he goes. He talked to a couple of the cops that were at the event, and they said, "Oh boy, call 911 to have a cop come."
No.
Yeah. And they'll be able to tow me out because they'll have a towing service come get me because I had no friends that have a truck or anything that were able to pull me out. So I was out of luck. So I did that, and I felt like an idiot calling 911 over that. I don't know. I just did I think it's for emergencies, and I didn't feel like I was. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was clearly.
So you called 911?
Yeah, I had to. That's what I was told to do.
Did they say 911? What's your emergency?
Exactly, and I was like, I'm in a ditch. I was told to call. Like an idiot.
Were they like, "Sir, you're gonna have to stay calm," and you're like, "No, I'm calm," and they're like, "Sir, you're gonna have to stay calm."
Just sitting here.
No, they're just like, "Oh, where are you?" So I told them. He's like, "Oh boy." So the cop came. He looked at what happened. He's just like, "All right, license and registration." You know, that whole thing. He put out some flares.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Did you talk to him?
Yeah, a little bit. And I was like, I looked at him and I was like, the roads looked fine. Like it was, and like this was just like bad. And I was like, I told him I was going really slow because I was literally going 15. Like I just very slowly slid into the ditch.
I slid on that part of the hill too once. It was terrifying.
Yeah, it's scary. And I was really lucky there wasn't another car coming the other way.
Yeah.
You're lucky he didn't give you a ticket because they like to give tickets for what's the law?
Stupid.
Speed not
safe for road conditions.
Not safe for road conditions. Yeah, they like to give tickets for that.
I know they do that, so I told him very clearly. Like, I told him I was going like literally 15 miles per hour the whole way down. So yeah, he didn't give me a ticket. It was a state trooper, so I was worried maybe he would. But he was pretty nice. So Dad comes, parks the Saturn. I don't know. You know where the house is on Twist Run?
There's a
Corey
few
and
houses.
The big
Yeah.
grass.
Yeah, that it's newer. It's on the right when
Oh,
you're coming
yeah.
down the hill. He parked a little bit below that, like where you can pull off.
Yep.
And walked the rest of the way up the hill.
I don't blame him.
Smart decision. So that happens. The towing service comes, pulls my car out. Wasn't there more than 5 minutes. And me and Dad, I get an accident report. I walk down to the car. Dad has to drive the rest of 38B in a Saturn, or not 38B, Twist Run. And he was sliding so bad the car was at like a 180-degree like turn.
Ugh.
And a couple other cars in front of us were sliding that bad, with the cop behind us who just filled out my accident report as me and Dad were sliding that bad.
Gosh.
They should really just have a cop hang out there when the roads get bad, because that whole spot's awful.
Or just
Yeah.
close the freaking road.
That's Mom said that. She's like, I don't know why they didn't close it if it was that bad. Because I guess the same towing service pulled out like 5 more people on that same stretch of road that night. So we were able to get home safely that night, but I already had my day ruined. Then come to find out, the towing was $900 for a small tow. They said it was a difficult tow.
Okay. All right.
So there's that. I don't know how that'll go.
What was difficult about it? He was on their lunch break?
He's probably on his lunch break and just didn't. And if he didn't come, it was like I was there in the ditch at 7:20 when I called Dad, and it was like 8 o'clock by the time I got pulled out. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't fast.
It also wasn't late. No, I don't think they closed until like 9. They weren't closed.
Yeah, no, they weren't closed. So after hours tires is what pulled me out. If you live in upstate New York, be careful.
Yeah, don't get screwed.
Yeah, actually, it was funny. I told one of my friends this, and he said, "Oh, yeah, they towed one of my friend's cars out, and it was like $600." And I was like, "That's ridiculous."
So whatever came of that?
I have no idea. Nothing yet. So there's that. I don't know how much damage is done. I didn't think there was any when I was in the ditch from trying to look at it, but I didn't want to be out on the road too long. But when they pulled it out, like the left bumper was mangled, and I don't know what else. I don't know
Yeah.
cars at all. So good for me, right?
Just good Martha banging up a car.
I thought I was different.
Well, Dan, you haven't banged up a car, have you?
I hit 2 deer. That was it.
Yeah.
One didn't even do any damage.
The rest of us have banged up a car, too.
It's funny because when I told Allison, and she didn't believe me, of course, until like I was like, no, like I really did. And it was funny because Neil ended up emailing me later that night. He's like, "It's all right. Well, like a couple of your siblings have done far worse to the cars."
Allison ruined my first car.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Get T-boned by a motorcycle.
The Tempo.
Yep. I loved that car.
That was a good
So-
car.
When I read that, I just thought about all the like accidents Allison and Corey have been in.
I haven't been in any accidents.
You've been off the road
Off the road, yeah.
Way off the road.
quite a bit.
The only time I hit another car was in our driveway. It was Dan's
Yeah, it was
car.
my car. Shortly after I bought it, wasn't it?
I think you had it for at least a year or so. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't remember.
I remember that because when you did that, you took off running and Dan chased you.
No, I didn't. I didn't know about it until later.
Oh, maybe that was another time Corey threw something. Oh, you threw a football and it hit Dan's car.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then Dan took off after you.
I only recently retired that car.
Hey, you got a lot of good years, good dented years out of it. Dad hit it too when it was parked.
Yeah, I back to it when it was parked.
He did. That's right. The master driver over there. But no, he was able to save me that night, so I'm very appreciative of that.
That's good. It's all things considered, at least you can say, you didn't get hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what everybody was telling me. It's one of those things that they say and they're right, but I'm still really mad.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just didn't make me feel better because, like, literally, I was at the very end of Taft, and for as bad as it was, I was just gonna cut it up that hill and go through Endicott and just get home like 25 minutes later, and would have been fine. Would have been home, and we'd have the escape. Because I'm driving the Saturn now, and it's fine when the roads aren't bad, but when the roads are bad, I can't do anything.
Yeah.
Not that I should be driving anyway, but if the roads aren't even that bad, like it still slides really bad. Like I've been driving to school this week, and like it's sliding on roads that are just lightly snow covered.
Plus, how are you going to pick up chicks in a 97 Saturn?
It's funny.
It's a really hideous color too.
Yeah, and it's all like dirty from the snow and roads and whatnot. It was funny. I was at work and I was talking to one of the managers there, and I made a joke about picking up chicks, and he looked at me and said, "No, you're not without a car."
Yeah.
I was like, "Thanks." So that was my birthday.
Happy birthday, man.
Thank you. I really rang it in this year.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Had quite the night. So the next thing is my phone decided to stop registering when I put a charger in. And I'm waiting for the iPhone 7 or whatever the next thing is to upgrade. So I bought a charging case on Monday actually, and it works beautifully. I don't know, because like I have to fiddle with the charger for it to work and stay in, but it's getting worse and worse to the point where like I really have to like jam it in, move the wire around like how it's in, and then like set it down very carefully. But I bought this charging case, and I don't know if it hits it the right way, but like it charges whenever I activate it, and the charger that I plug into it works too. So I'm pretty happy, because now that gives my phone the life that it needs to get to the next iPhone, hopefully.
For Christmas, I got a wireless charger for my phone, and it's been a revelation. Just plug my phone down on the wireless charger, and
Yeah, just let it go, right?
yeah, so I don't have to worry about like wearing out the port where it plugs in to charge.
Yeah, actually, when I was talking about it with Mom, she said, "Why don't you get like a wireless charger or whatever for the iPhone?" And I was like, I didn't really even think of that, but I ended up getting
I don't know if it's wireless charge compatible, but you would have to get like a case for it that's wireless compatible that you could. It would be like the one you have now.
It's still plugged into the lightning port, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And for whatever reason, my phone has just decided to eat battery really bad. Like if I drove into work, and like I have my phone playing music, I'll be at 100% when I leave, and I get to work, it's at 55.
Wow.
And I have it in low power mode too, and that'll just make it so it goes from 100 to 70. So I don't know what's going on.
Check at the I think it's in the battery settings. It shows which app is using battery power.
It tells me my music is using like 25% of my battery, which is weird because it's not using. I don't stream music. I always use the music app from the iPhone. And same with podcasts. I always download podcasts, but those two apps have just been killing my battery, and I don't know why. I don't know. My phone's probably on its way out. That's why.
It's new though, isn't it?
I got it 2014, I think.
Oh.
The fall 2014.
Yeah, it's usually September, right, when they release the new iPhones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the new one came out this September, or last September, the 2015. But I took the year off on it.
Well, while we're on the topic of iPhones, I've still got my 5, but I bought myself an iPhone repair kit on Amazon. Comes with all the little tools and suction cups and glue and stuff that you need to get in your phone and fix things and put it back together and everything. So I'm going to try and rescue my 6 that I dropped in a toilet that hasn't worked since. I'm hoping it's just corroded here and there. I can scrape some stuff off, maybe buy it a new battery if it needs it. I don't know. But if not, my 5 needs some work too.
I mean, the one you dropped in paint?
Yeah, I dropped it in an entire bucket of paint. Totally submerged. The only part that wasn't submerged was the very bottom part with the headphone jack and the lightning port and the speaker.
The important parts.
So now it's really hard for me to do phone calls unless I have it on speakerphone because I can't hear the other person. The front camera, it's 75% of it is just brown from the paint. You could just see the top. This is the only thing that shows.
Because when we FaceTimed you, that night of my birthday. Like the 50% of the screen was black.
Yeah, you couldn't see anything on it. But it's sort of endearing.
It's got character.
This phone doesn't owe me anything.
Yeah.
It's outlasted my 6 that I bought last year, and I've had it for 2 years before that. So
yeah, it's like the old iPhones that would last forever.
Yep.
I had my iPhone 3G forever.
Yeah, those things were bricks. They just didn't break.
No. Ones now, you drop them once and they split open.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I said this maybe last week. I dropped my iPhone 6 twice, and twice it cracked. Mm-hmm. I dropped my iPhone 5 probably 20 times. Never cracked.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
The 6s are really, really flimsy and just break. I don't know. I've been really lucky that mine hasn't broke, because I drop my phone all the time.
And it's like $100 to get the screen fixed if it cracks.
It's crazy.
It's ridiculous.
The only reason why I still have an iPhone is because iMessage. It's so helpful for me.
Yeah.
Because I can just be on Wi-Fi and send texts, and it's just easy.
Yep.
2 more things. There's one big thing. I just want to talk about the NHL and the John Scott thing. That was pretty crazy. For people who don't know, the American Wyshynski podcast and the Steve Dangle podcast thought it would be funny to vote a goon in to the All-Star game. So they mentioned it on their podcasts, and then their fans and Reddit got a hold of it and made it happen. And then after he was selected, Arizona traded him to Montreal, and Montreal buried him in the minors, the St. John's team. So a lot of people didn't know what was going to happen with that. And I don't know, Corey, you have Instagram, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you follow the NHL on Instagram?
No.
I do, and every time, that 3-day period where they didn't talk about what was going to happen with him, every comment for there was be 1,000 comments, and 600 of them or whatever would be hashtag free John Scott. So there was a huge backlash on the NHL for not allowing, they never said that he wasn't going to play, but for not even even mentioning it really what was going to happen. So they were getting some pretty bad PR. So I think it was on Tuesday they announced that he would be playing, and they're kind of going all in on it now. Gary Bettman said that the fans really wanted him, so he's going to definitely be playing, and he's all right with that and whatnot. So now everybody's posting John Scott is free.
Uh-huh.
And he's talking about wearing his St. John's jersey to the All-Star game instead of the Arizona one.
Yeah, I saw he said that he'd wear that if they'd let him. I don't know if they're gonna or not. I hope they do.
Yeah.
I think they should let him do whatever, really, honestly. Because they were talking about in the American Wyshynski podcast that yes, they did do it as a goof, but they picked somebody who, one, could handle it.
Yeah.
And two, who is really endearing to the media and funny and will do cool stuff. Because this has brought more attention to the NHL All-Star Game, because the All-Star Game for the NHL is kind of a joke, and nobody watches it, and it's pretty poorly played. So it's on ESPN that this story is on there and whatnot. So this is I'm watching the All-Star Game this year because John Scott is in it.
Yeah.
So this is a free softball to the NHL to let him play.
Yeah.
In my opinion. What
is he gonna do in the skills competition? Do you think? Fastest skater.
Somebody said spear Phil Kessel.
Is that a new competition they're doing this year? Spearing competition?
Yeah.
No, hardest slap shot maybe? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure anything he does, the bar's so low for his skill level that anything he does is going to be incredible. If he scores a goal in the 3-on-3 game, everybody's going to go crazy. If he does the shootout competition, because honestly, all they need is Johnny Gaudreau to teach him a move, a shootout move that he can pull off.
Yeah.
And he practices it and learns it and does it.
He can do the Merrick Malik
between the legs.
Between the legs. Merrick Malik was not a graceful man.
No, he wasn't. I still remember that. It was against the
He had 2 left feet.
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, that's. I think it's great that John Scott's playing, and I'm excited. And I wish Eric was here to talk about it, because I know when he said it was happening, he didn't like it, but he kind of got behind it recently.
Yeah.
So I wanted to hear what he thought.
it's all. I mean, the NHL allowed fans to put players in the All-Star game, so if that's who they picked, then they just have to deal with it. You know.
They did say they're going to change the format for
Yeah, I'm
voting.
sure.
Well, they've already changed it. It used to be, you'd vote in 12 people. This year it was only 6 or 4 or something.
It's the conference, or is the captains for every division.
Yeah.
Which made people mad in the first place. That's why John Scott got voted in.
You'd think they would have, if they really didn't want it to happen. And there's not, there's a little bit of evidence that they didn't want him to go. But there's not a ton. And if they really didn't want him to go, don't you think they'd stuff the ballot a little bit? They totally have the power to do that.
They could have said Johnny Gaudreau got a good push at the end from the Calgary fans, and Gaudreau won.
Yeah.
But I guess it wasn't even like close, like the other like captain votes wise. So like it would have been a little harder for them to do because the voting was so like one-sided.
I don't buy the whole American Wyshynski and the Dangle podcast are to blame.
No.
I really don't think they have enough listeners to do that, Of
Yeah,
course, their listeners took it and ran with it, and then they spread it, but you can't put all the blame on them,
Once it gets on the internet, you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I think it was Ronick or said that like the people who voted for John Scott aren't hockey fans, but like the people who voted for John Scott are hockey fans because you have to know what kind of player John Scott is for you to even get the joke.
Yeah. And it gives you a reason to watch the All-Star game.
Exactly. I'm going to watch it this year because
me too.
He's in it, and it's going to be interesting and funny. And I really hope the Pacific Division wins.
I hope he scores a goal.
There's the conspiracy theory is that the NHL is somehow going to force his wife to go into labor, and he's going to have to leave. So that was something very interesting that I've been following really closely, and I would have been very, very upset if he wasn't playing, but luckily he is. And keeping it on the kind of hockey note, my first class started this week at Broome, and it's the ice skating class that I signed up for.
Nice.
It's really cool because it starts a week early, and like this is like a low stress class, it's just kind of fun, and ends in early March when my semester ends in early May. So I have a long period of like that. Once that class is done, like I got nothing in that time slot, so I'll have more free time opened up.
Who's the teacher? Is it the guy I had?
His name is Ryan Heinelin.
Old?
No, young.
No, not the one I had then.
I really like him because he goes, when the class started, he's like, who's never really ice skated? And I haven't ice skated since I was really, really, really young. Mm-hmm. It's been 8 years probably for me. Yeah. So I raised my hand, and he's like, oh, and I was the only one. Everybody else is like prodigy skaters in this class. It's unbelievable.
Oh, gosh.
So I was like, what did I do? So he's like, all right, you'll be with me. So like my first half of the first day, I was holding onto the wall and really scared. And now I'm to the point now where I'm like kind of bombing around the ice without holding onto the wall. And like I got people coming up to me saying, for your second day skating, you've done so well. And I don't know why, if I just picked it up really quickly or if like my brief pass with it like kind of helped me. But like when I get out on the ice for the first time, I'm kind of scared and holding onto the wall. But like once I warm up to it, I'm able to kind of bomb around a lot. And I haven't fallen yet. And I'm able to do all of the things he's having us do. Like he's having us like march on the ice and like doing like a swizzle sort of thing where your skates go out and then in, out and then in. And I'm doing a little bit of backward stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm pretty pleased with myself that I've been able to skate around and not hold onto the wall anymore.
So when I did it, there was 2 professors, and one took all the people who had skated before, and the other took everyone else. And the people who had skated before, there was like 8 of us. Mm-hmm. And the people who hadn't, there was like 15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's because it's me and another person who weren't good. I'm at least to the point now where I can keep up with everybody pretty easily.
Yeah.
I know a kid actually in there. My lab partner from chemistry the last semester was randomly in it, so like I know somebody at least, which makes it a little bit better. But He also said that there was 25 kids in the class, and there's only been like 12 in class. So he says maybe that the people who didn't know that the class started a week early will be here this coming Tuesday.
They
So
missed
maybe
the
we'll
memo.
exactly we'll get some like kids who can't skate. So I don't feel so because he said people who start for the first time, he has them like falling all over the ice and like to the point where they can't even stand up. So he said he was really impressed with how good I was with skating.
Yeah.
So.
Huh.
But that's a fun class. I'm really enjoying it. Like, cause whenever I like wake up in the morning to go to, I'm like, I don't want to do this. But when I'm there, I'm like, this is so much fun.
Yeah.
And he starts off with like 20 minutes of us like skating, like just free skating, and then he does like 30 minutes of like actual stuff. Then he lets us do whatever after.
Uh-huh.
So like, it's really like so easy.
That's good.
Yeah, it'll be an easy A for my GPA.
So you're on the path to the NHL finally.
It's funny. I emailed Neil after the first class because I was kind of embarrassed, and I said, "Hey, can you give me some skating tips so I'm not like the big sissy hanging out of the wall?" You know what he said to me?
What?
He goes, "I haven't skated in 2 years, so I would be one of those big sissies holding on for dear life." And I was like, "Come on, you've been skating your whole life."
Yeah. Good advice, you jerk.
But yeah, I got it a little bit better now. I almost fell today, which would have been really embarrassing, but I've been able to not. So
Good.
I miss skating.
it's so much fun.
I was always better. I mean, I mostly rollerbladed, but I have a few brief experiences with ice skating. I could never stop because I was used to rollerblading. I played rollerblade hockey a lot.
Stopping is so hard.
Yeah, I could never get the
I was
hang
trying
of
to I was trying to hockey stop today. The teacher was showing me a little bit of how to do it, but like there's no way I'd be able to do it yet. But that's it for my long week.
Sounds good. What do you got, Corey?
I just have one thing I wanted to talk about. I watched on Reddit's recommendation a new sci-fi channel series called The Expanse.
Oh, I've heard about that.
It's pretty good. The post on Reddit I saw said it was the best space show since Firefly.
Uh-huh.
And they likened the politicking going on in the show to
Game of Thrones.
at least as good as Game of Thrones, which I don't know if I entirely agree with. Then again, I've only watched the first 2 episodes.
Still a lofty
Yeah,
comparison.
it really is. But I'm really enjoying it. It's the setup for it is that there's 3 sort of factions. There's the Earthlings, the people who live on Earth. There's the people who live on Mars, and the Belters they call them, and they're the ones who mine resources and ice from the asteroid belts to provide the resources and water for Earth and Mars. I think I don't know. I haven't totally figured it out. But there's good characters. The special effects are really well done for a sci-fi series. We'll see where it goes. Like I said, I've only seen the first 2 episodes, but I'm really liking it so far.
What was it called again?
The Expanse.
The Expanse.
I could see, they've set up a lot of the factional stuff, and I could see it going to really interesting places. So, maybe it will reach that point. But from what I read in the comments of the post, everyone's like, yeah, it's a good space show, but don't compare it to Game of Thrones and Firefly.
Yeah, both of those are really lofty.
Yeah, that's not a fair comparison to make for that show. But I do recommend if you're into science fiction, especially space shows, watch the first episode or 2. They're good.
What did you say it's on?
Sci-fi.
I'll
On
have
the
to check
Sci-Fi
this
Channel?
out.
It's on Netflix or?
Nope. Sci-Fi Channel. You can
Okay.
watch on demand.
Really? Nice.
And that's it. Oh, actually, I also wanted to mention I rewatched Pirates of the Caribbean.
The first one?
What a good movie that is.
That's a great movie.
I forgot how good it was until I rewatched it. It's so good. It's just one of those good, solid, family, fun pirate movies,
Yep. My wife, I think last year, bought me the Blu-ray for that one. That's all. I mean, the other ones are okay, but not nearly good. The first one was fantastic.
The first one is really good. Like, even the sword fights and everything. Oh,
Yeah.
I just love it.
It's a good movie.
Yep.
Okay. The only thing I have to talk about is also a movie. For Christmas, the wife bought us the Harry Potter movies.
Oh, really?
I had only seen bits and pieces when they were on TV, and I've wanted to watch them for a while now. I was actually one of those people that wanted to read all the books first. That's just not going to happen. Especially not with me going through the Game of Thrones books. Like, it'll be forever until I ever get a chance to sit down and read Harry Potter. So we watched the movies. I watched the first one, Philosopher's Stone, and it was good.
Yes.
So,
My favorite one is Chamber of Secrets.
Chamber of Secrets. Is that the third one? Second one?
Second, I think. It might be
Okay.
third.
Yeah, I don't know the order at all. Like, we got the Blu-rays, so that even, like, it has to say on the back like which movies come first, because there's 7 or 8 of them.
Yeah.
8 of them,
And
I think?
they get bad.
Bad?
In my opinion, yeah. I think I
The early ones are better.
think so for sure. I don't know. I'm not a big Harry Potter fan, so I'm not the best judge.
Right.
But Chamber of Secrets was definitely my favorite, and then Prisoner of Azkaban was pretty good.
Uh-huh.
And then the first one was all right, and then after that, I just didn't really care for any of them.
Okay.
We actually, within the last year, rewatched them all because I hadn't seen them all. I had just seen a couple of them here and there, but
Yeah, they were on TV, like network TV, and it would be on after football or something. I don't know.
yeah.
I would be enthralled in watching them because I've always wanted to watch them, but it would be like bits and pieces, like I said. So we started watching. We're probably gonna watch like one a week for the next however long.
There you go. Was that part of the if you watch Game of Thrones, I'll watch Harry Potter deal?
No. I've wanted to watch
Yeah.
it. There was no trade off for Game of Thrones.
Yeah, that's good.
So I just begged and pleaded enough that she was like fine, and she ended up loving it. So
That's good. Yeah. You made a fan.
yes, it did. We're both counting down the days until season 6.
I can't wait, and then we can talk about it every
I know.
week.
I know.
On the
It's gonna be hard
podcast.
to spoil things though. But anyway, we'll take a quick break, right?
Yeah, I need to
Yes.
use the gentleman's room.
I also have to use the facility. So yeah, we'll take a quick break and be back with what we played in just a moment. Okay.
Oh, I got to pee so bad.
So do I. All right.
Hi, Dan.
Howdy. I had to put on a long sleeve shirt.
Cold down there?
Yeah, not as bad, but just from being down here for so long. Actually, the window over where the studio used to be, the basement window.
Yeah.
Because we have the bounce house for the kids down here now, so we come down here fairly frequently. And sitting underneath that window is like sitting outside. It's so drafty. So I put a curtain up.
Yeah.
I put a curtain up by that window, and it's kept the basement a lot warmer than it has in the past. We need to get a heating
source down there?
Yeah, heating system some sort down here. But
Dan, is it crazy that I want to get a PS3?
no.
Okay.
No, there's lots of good RPGs on there.
The reason I want to get it is for the games that I missed that I don't want to do on PS Now and the PlayStation 1 games.
Yeah.
And
that's not something you can find easily as a PS1.
Exactly. And I was thinking about a 360 again, but like one already has backwards compatibility for things that I want to play. So.
Yeah.
And also, I wonder with the announcement of the Necromancer and Heroes of the Storm if they're going to do a Diablo 2 HD remake.
Oh, that would be cool. I really like Diablo 2.
Me too.
I disliked Diablo 3 at first, but I think I would like it more now.
You would definitely like it now.
A lot of the stuff that I didn't like about it, they fixed. So
They sure did, Dan. You should give it a go with me and Corey when we do our...
yeah, I'm free at night. So
because that's one of the games on our list.
What's up, you guys?
No. What up?
Hi.
Corey, Dan, and I were talking about Diablo 3 and saying he should join you and me when we do our playthrough on it.
I was just thinking that earlier, how it's lately more so than ever how good people are talking about that game.
No kidding. People are just loving it.
I think
right
it was even like Steven Totillo posted something the other day. How Diablo, how good it is right now.
Yeah. That's good. Went out of their way to improve it.
Yeah. Instead of just sticking with their pride and...
Yeah.
I don't know. I made money off of Diablo.
It's true. You did.
Sold an item for like 40 some cents.
That was going to be your thing. You're gonna farm items for money and make a fortune.
Yeah.
That was your plan. I don't know if you were actually. But
typical me.
Well, not just
big
that,
plans.
But it's one of those things where if you don't play it religiously, night and day, you're gonna get behind really fast because there's people out there that will play it 18, 19 hours a day.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
So.
Ooh, this is good.
Corey, would you be in for a Diablo 2 HD remake? No.
I have a hard time with those games anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Just get bored.
Yeah. I only say that because people think maybe with the Necromancer being put in Heroes, if they have that on the back burner waiting to be...
Oh man, I'm getting killed in daily fantasy. I haven't won in like 5 days.
Come on, Corey. Well, it's going to be illegal soon, so.
Yeah, you don't have to worry.
Xenochara's got me -4 points. I did put Eddie Lack in. He's doing all right.
I had to pick him up because freaking Cam Ward all of a sudden has a concussion, is on IR. Like, I don't have enough. I have 4 players on my team on IR.
I don't think they want Cam Ward playing, though.
Yeah, they want to stop winning.
He's a little concussed.
Actually, no. I think they can make the playoffs this year.
I think they can.
Did you hear the American Wojcinski podcast talking about their defensive stats?
No.
They're like top 5 in every single defensive category.
Really?
Yeah.
Justin Falk is really good.
Justin Falk, Noah Hannafin. They have John Michael Lyles, but like they were talking about like their neutral zone, like they're 1 and 2 and everything, and like their overall defensive, like top 5.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're unbelievably good.
I haven't followed hockey as closely as I usually do. just the Predators, and we all know how that's going.
Rene. Is Rene just in a slump, Dan, or is he kind of like faded?
He's old, washed
He's
up.
33.
He's got a bad hip.
Does have a
John Scott will not wear Ice Caps jersey in All-Star game. Will wear just a black jersey with the All-Star game logo.
Was he not? I'm sure he wasn't allowed if that's the case, right?
I think that's the issue.
I'm assuming the NHL said, "Look, we're letting you play.
Yeah.
Don't push.
Don't push it."
Don't push it. I'm excited now. I was worried it was this weekend, and I work this weekend, but then I realized it's next weekend, and I'm like, yeah.
Nice.
I can't wait to watch it too.
I don't have any plans, too, so I'm going to make sure it stays that way. Oh, maybe I'll have an all-star game party.
There you go.
Oh my God, I would drive up.
Come on up, Will.
If I don't, I'm gonna work.
Yeah, you work all the time.
Well, because I only can work Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They're gonna make me work it all the time.
Yep, that'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, ready?
Yeah.
I guess.
Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, everybody. Episode 235 of the Thumbstick Athletes podcast. We are now in what we played. Corey, should we get started with Dragon's Dogma?
Sure.
That being the big release from last week.
Yeah.
Dragon's Dogma, Dark Arisen. It is a port of the Xbox 360, PS3 game. Other than the Dark Arisen improvements, there isn't a whole lot of improvements. They did unlock the frame rate and put in the standard graphical options.
That's it?
Going to a PC port. What's that?
That's it. I was curious about what was included in the PC port.
Yeah, it was mostly just a port, graphical stuff. There wasn't a lot of other changes than that, other than the stuff the changes from Dark Arisen.
There's no user interface changes or anything like that. I just playing it on the PC, I felt like it was. And granted, I played very little of it when it came out on 360. I just felt like it was more user friendly. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
The menus suck. Still,
they're not as bad as Fallout 4's. Sorry.
I disagree on that, but a lot of it is the way the controls are. Like the in most PC RPGs and stuff, when you go up and down in a menu, you can use the scroll wheel to scroll up and down on the menu. That does not work in Dragon's Dogma. You have to actually go. You've got it. Yeah, I use keyboard and mouse. You have to actually go over with the slider and move it over, and it's the menus are not designed very well for keyboard and mouse, I don't think. But someone's gonna come up with a mod to fix that, or they'll patch it.
Mm-hmm.
That needs a little work, but. As for the port itself, it's actually a really well done port.
I agree.
It runs excellently. I only get the occasional frame rate drop when I'm just outside Grand Soren, just because the view distance is so far and there's so much to show there. But other than that, I get a very consistent 60 frames per second in the game, which is awesome.
Me too, even.
Oh, good.
On a lesser card. I don't have everything turned up all the way though, so.
Right. Yeah, I have all the graphics maxed, and my graphics card is just a hair overclocked. But I put about 30 hours into it since it came out on Friday.
Nice.
I play it just about every night, and then bits and pieces here during the day when I can. Corey, what are your thoughts on it so far? Get your on it.
It was really nice because I remember when this game came out and we were playing it. I remember thinking to myself, there's a lot of things this game does really well.
Absolutely.
It might not all come together as well as it could,
right.
But it does a few very specific things that I think are really cool for this type of fantasy role-playing game. And one of the biggest ones for me is the way you can climb on beasts.
Yeah.
The monsters that you're fighting, you can climb up them and attack them, just like in the movies.
And different parts of their bodies and stuff.
Yeah, that's great.
It's all very strategic too. There's a rhyme and reason for a lot of the stuff. Like, for example, if you're fighting a Cyclops, it's a really, really big creature. Usually has a helmet and a club. You can climb up its back, and if you like stab it in the back of the neck and stuff, you could knock off its helmet. If you knock off its helmet, it reveals its eye. If you then you can shoot it in the eye and do a lot of damage, and it kind of stuns it. Same thing with the arm. If you attack the arm of it, if you climb up on the arm, or even attack the arm from the ground, you can knock the club out of his hand.
Yeah.
If you attack his legs, sometimes he'll trip up and fall, and you can obviously then attack the face and head a little bit easier. There's all these little strategies you can learn for attacking these things.
Which you don't see. Like, what other fantasy RPG does that?
No, there's not a lot of them, and all the different bigger things, not necessarily the small things, have like weird ways you can fight them. Like I was reading someone who was fighting a griffin. And they're damaged easily against fire, but they're having trouble catching on fire. So what they did is they doused themselves in oil, managed to climb onto the griffin. And when they were climbing around on the griffin, then it was doused in oil, and then they could catch it on fire to damage it better. Yeah,
brilliant.
Little strategies you can do
Yeah.
That make the combat system really interesting in that game.
And that what you just described there is one of the things I really liked about Divinity. I know you still haven't played it.
No, I'm going to.
But yeah, it's all those kind of things. Like it's not just combat. There's an element of creativity involved with it.
Yep.
And that's what I really love about it. And it's also the ability to grab things, including enemies, and throw them or hold on to them. You can use your teammates to what's the shield thing where you can jump off.
Like a shield vault or something.
Shield vault, yeah, where your teammate can hold up a shield and you can jump on it and use that as a springboard. Is that what it is? Shield springboard or something like that.
Yeah,
to jump onto enemies.
To something flying or something tall that you can grab onto.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And the whole pawn system, which was funny because when I first played, I can't remember the first day I played it. Maybe Tuesday is the first time I sat down to play it. And the way the pawn system works is you play the game. It's a single-player game, but every person has a pawn, which is basically just like a teammate.
Yeah, a main that you can create on your own.
Yep, and that pawn goes into what's the word I'm looking for? Like a multiplayer, like a nexus kind of thing.
Yeah, the rift.
The rift, yeah. Your pawn goes into the rift and can be used by anybody else playing the game, including your friends, people on your friends list. So I had Dan on my friends list.
I was gonna say, can you use my pawn for free?
Yep.
Okay.
And I remember that from the 360 version. If they're your friend, it doesn't matter what level and equipment they have, you can use them for free. If they're not your friend, if the person's pawn, if the pawn belonging to the person on your friends list is not on your friends list, then you have to pay a certain form of in-game currency. RC, what's it called?
Rift.
Rare crystals or Rift crystals?
Yeah, I think it's Rift crystals.
And it can be pretty substantial. It gets higher based on the level difference. However, at level 4, I was able to use Dan's level 28 pawn. As part of my team, you get 3 pawns total. Brienne.
Your main pawn, Brienne of Tarth.
Yes, and it sounds like her too. Did you pick a voice?
I did. I picked the only thing I forgot to do. I tried to make her like hair and stuff look like her. I forgot to change the height to make her really tall.
I noticed that.
Yeah, because she's about the same height as my character, which is kind of short. I somehow overlooked that when I was creating her.
Did you happen to look at my pawn?
No. Wait. Yes. What's his name?
Maestro.
Maestro. Yeah. It's got the handlebar mustache.
Handlebar mustache and really long girl hair, and really short and scraggly.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, but what happens is you go into this. There's this rift stone that you go into in a town or settlement of some sort, and when you go in there, there's like probably 6 or 8 different pawns that you can choose from that are just wandering around, and it's like this Nexus Rift area. But you can also search by specific terms. You can pick the top ranked. And then when you send a pawn away, like after you've used them or whatever, because they don't level up with you, your character and your main pawn will level up, but the pawns that are with you don't necessarily level up if their owner doesn't level them up. So if you want to pick new ones, then after you're done with them, they'll go back into the rift, and you can send them with something. Along with it's got a rating system too for the pawn's helpfulness, because the more you use like your pawn in the more quests and stuff and areas you visit or monsters you fight, it helps them learn things. Like they learn different strategies for or where secrets are. So that's another useful thing that the pawns do, like on their own. They learn how to fight different enemies or learn secret ways. And like even early on, like I had a pawn that was, I hired them. They were a couple levels ahead of me or whatever. It wasn't very much, but they knew where to go on one of the quests that I needed to do. So that I just followed them to where I needed to go. It was great.
Yeah. So as a level, I think I was level 6 or 7 at the time. I had Dan's level 28 pawn, and obviously he had done a bunch of quests and fought a bunch of monsters ahead of me. So his pawn knew all the information about the quests and the monsters that I was fighting. So if it was a big one, it would give me tips. It would say like, okay, now let's attack its head. Like it would assist. Yeah. It would tell me how to beat the enemy that I was fighting.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
And when you're playing, your pawn learns stuff too, and they'll say, I know how to fight that monster now, or I've learned this area. Because like Dan was saying, they'll also give you directions. If you're in a zone or something, they'll tell you where to go.
Point out treasures. They'll also loot stuff as you're going along, which is great. You just you go into a new area and they'll just start picking up all the herbs or whatever that you need to make potions and stuff with, and it's fantastic. I love all that. It's something that needs to be implemented into other games. The pawn system's brilliant, I thought.
Well, Xenoblade kind of does it.
Has it a little bit, yeah.
Well, you sort of talked about this a little bit, Dan, and I wanted to ask you. The pawns that you borrow from other people don't level up with you, right?
No, unless when you go and stay in an inn, it'll update all the pawns. So if whoever created them it leveled them up since then, that'll reflect after you've stayed in. It kind of like resets everything, I guess.
And their equipment too.
Equipment, yeah, everything.
That's cool.
It's updated.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, because I had one that I really liked. His name was Frederick. He had really advanced equipment. I don't know how, but he was unbelievable. But he got to the point where his level was just too low, and he wasn't really helping me anymore. So
it's like you got to message the user on Steam and be like, "Hey man, can you play your character a little bit more?
Get your shit together. I want my team." But you can like favorite them, and if you see that they're leveled up later, you can just summon them again. I guess.
Yeah.
Lack of a better word. So that's a really cool system. Another thing I really like about Dragon's Dogma is nighttime.
That was the next point I was going to bring up.
Yeah, it does nighttime really well. A lot better than a lot of other games. Nighttime is really, really dark. Or if you go in a cave or a dungeon or whatever without a light source of any kind, it's really dark. I mean, there's ways around it if you turn the gamma up, but that's defeats the fun of the game for me. There's times where you're, just stuck out in the wild, and like if you don't have oil to put in your lantern, it's really, really freaking dark.
Is it darker than Dying Light dark?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You can't see anything really.
That's crazy.
Outside of your lantern, or if you equip lanterns on your pawns or whatever. Mm-hmm. So it's more dangerous because there's more bad guys out, but it's also, like I said, really dark and hard to get around. Like you can kind of follow roads a little bit, but you don't want to go off the roads at all, because even the lantern only lights like a little small area around you, so you can only see like what's immediately around you. You can't see if there's a chimera like off in the distance waiting to pounce on you. Yeah, there was a dungeon I was in too that I ran out of oil. It was the one underneath Grand Soren, Everfall dungeon.
I haven't made it that far.
Yeah, it was. I ran out of lamp oil, and I was just had to wait till one of my pawns found some. I was just swinging my sword in the dark and doing my best.
How long is nighttime in the game? Like
40. I think they said 45 minutes are the day cycles. Wow, I mean, it's not completely dark for all of that, but
yeah, and you can sleep it off. You don't have to wait.
Yeah, you can stay at an inn and have your character stay till morning.
But if you're out there in the wild,
if you get caught out in the wild, it's pretty difficult. Or if you're in a dungeon, you need to have a light source, or you will not be able to see, because there's not like fire everywhere.
Not like Skyrim.
Yeah, not like Skyrim, where you can walk around in the dark and still see.
What's your main character, Dan?
I made like a ranged character. I can't remember It's the yellow one.
Okay.
I started off as the base one, and then I moved up to Ranger.
Oh.
I mastered Ranger, and now I'm doing Assassin.
Okay.
So I use the bow a lot.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
The vanilla version of the game just had 3 classes, right?
No, I think it's had the same.
Okay. Because maybe I didn't realize it, but I thought it was just the 3 classes. But once I went to the Bitterback Isle, which is the expansion, right?
Yeah, that's the Dark Arisen expansion.
The Dark Arisen stuff.
That's all high level content.
They gave me a bunch of other classes to choose from.
No, they were all in.
Okay. Maybe I just misunderstood then.
Yeah, you have to. The only way to change that or upgrade all that stuff is in the capital. Maybe there's a way to do it. There's probably a way to do it on Bitter Black Isle. I haven't done that much there. But yeah, you can change your vocation or learn skills and stuff at the innkeep in Grand Soren.
Okay.
So if you didn't make it that far, then
no, not yet. I'm at the point now where I just passed where I had played through it in the 360 version.
Oh, okay.
So I haven't seen that much that I haven't already seen. But I did go to the Bitter Black Isle. That's all high level content? There's nothing I can do there at low level?
I don't believe so. Maybe very little. You might be able to kill the first few things in it. But it was meant as a more content for the people that max their characters out or whatever.
Gotcha. Well, why do they sell it to you right at the start of the game then?
Don't know.
Probably just to open it up so you know it's there.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, I went in there at like 25 or whatever, and I had trouble killing some of the wolves at the beginning of the world. So.
Well, I have no problem with anything because I just let you lead the way. And
yeah. I think my character's low. I think we're 36 now.
Okay. See, I didn't know that. I have to go sleep in it in, and then it'll update your.
It should update
equipment too, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. I wanted to play because I watched the port report video on it, and I decided I wanted to try because I was going to play with the controller too, but because my character is a ranged character, it's plays like a shooter with when I equip my bow.
Yeah.
So definitely the keyboard and mouse was the way I wanted to go with that because when I played before I was a mage, so I wanted to try the ranged character, and I love it so far. It's really fun.
I went with mage this time because I know I made a fighter the first time around.
Yeah. But yeah, what a great game.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed this, Corey, but it has a little bit of a Dark Souls feel to it.
Oh yeah.
The world feels very hopeless and kind of run down, and it's on its last legs. And
I'm not noticing it as much this time because I have your level 28 character. But I remember the first time I played it, the difficulty was really curve was really high.
Yeah. I'm definitely having an easier time with it this time, but that's because I remember all the tricks from when I played it before. So
yeah.
I remember like a lot of the locations and stuff and how to get to different places from because I played it a ton, when it was on the 360. And I'm sure I've already got 30 some hours into it. I don't know how far into the story I am, but
that's crazy to me.
So good.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a great port, really, if you have any interest in the game. I don't think the requirements are that high for it either. I think they're relatively low, so probably on a variety of machines.
They got to be doing a second one.
They have an online one. They have an MMORPG.
Oh, that's right.
But it's not here. I want Dragon's Dogma 2,
Yeah,
definitely.
I don't want an MMORPG.
No.
It's made by Capcom, right?
Capcom, yep.
I think that's the game they said that they're not opposed, or they're listening to people who say they want a sequel.
Yeah,
right?
I'm sure if the Steam one sells well,
and I think it has.
I think it has. But part of that is because they did a good job with the port. It runs great. I haven't had any crashes in 30 hours. I've played it quite a bit. Like I said, graphics maxed out. Like just a little bit of frame rate drop when I'm in the area just outside of Grand Soren, but that's because of the view distances so far. So runs fantastic. Like I said, my only complaint with it is the menu stuff kind of sucks right now, but I'm hoping that gets fixed at some point. But I think that would all play better with a controller.
Yep.
One of the things it does well too is if you're just playing, like even if I had a lot of menu stuff I want to do, if I just plugged in a controller, it'll immediately change the inputs. And then if I unplugged it again, it'll go back to keyboard and mouse.
Which not every game does.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Which is
It's
annoying.
Very cool feature. So yeah, recommend.
Big old recommend from Dan and I.
Yep. I got it from Green Man Gaming
this.
for 20% off. It was $24.
Good deal. Worth every penny.
I would have paid full price for this game to play it again, but it's a steal at $24.
I would have paid $24 for it.
That's
But
saying
you
a
did,
lot.
so I don't have to.
Coming from you, Corey. That's saying a lot.
Yeah, it really is.
But that's all I played this week. I might have played a little bit of Xenoblade like late last week. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But nothing more to report. I'm still working on side quests. I haven't played it since Dragon's Dogma came out. So.
Yeah, I gotta keep playing that because I know if I stop for too long, I won't want to get back into it. And I'm getting to that point now where I'm thinking new video card, and it's like, do I get rid of my Wii U? I don't know. Because I've got Mario Maker and Xenoblade and the Wii U itself, and that would all pull a fairly decent chunk for a new video card.
Yeah. I mean, if I were you, I'd wait on the video cards and see, because NVIDIA released no new cards last year, so they're going to come out with new cards this year. I would just wait and see what they are before.
I'll just stick it out, I guess.
You're good at doing that.
I know. I'm usually pretty patient when it comes to this stuff, so I guess I'll stick to. And I haven't. We talked about this, but I haven't hit too many issues playing the games that I have.
Yeah.
And I didn't even realize until I remember playing The Witcher 3 on my computer and being like, "Oh, this looks great," but then I went and saw it on your computer, and I'm like, "Well, all right."
Yeah. What can you do?
Yeah, it is what it is.
The best thing is for the most part you can customize it to have it look. If you want it to look nicer, fine. If you want it to run, I even lowered some of the settings on mine so it would be smooth as silk, 60 frames, front to back.
I try to find a good balance. The big thing with me is view distance.
Yeah.
The rest of the stuff I'm fine. If the textures aren't great. But I just need to be able to have good view distance. I hate pop-in.
Oh, pop-in's awful. There is some pop-in in Dragon's Dogma.
Yeah, I've noticed. Trees.
It's noticeable. Trees a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
It's noticeable, but...
What are you going to do? Sometimes you can't do anything about it.
Right. That'll be fixed with a mod, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. I hope people mod this game. That would be fun.
There is a few mods already for it.
That's cool.
Yeah. But minor fixes,
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah. Good game. Easy recommend. That's all I've got. Corey, what do you got?
I played 2 other games, Pony Island and That Dragon Cancer.
Pony Island, let's hear it.
You want to hear Pony Island?
Sure.
So Pony Island is a game I was interested in. I don't know what release schedule you guys look at, but I look at the Game Informer one because they have a mix of the AAA games and the smaller games that not too many people are familiar with. And Pony Island was listed there, I think. I think that's where I heard about it. I guess it doesn't really matter. But then I always cross-reference it with Steam and Metacritic. Once it releases, I'll check the review score on Metacritic, and I'll see what people on Steam are saying. Because sometimes those two don't agree with each other.
Yeah. I would say a lot of times they don't agree with each other.
Yeah, and I haven't decided whether I trust Steam reviews more than Metacritic reviews or vice versa. I don't know. It's hit or miss, really. But if the game gets a good review on one or the other, then I have a tendency to check it out on my own. But Pony Island was one I had my eye on based on just the sales pitch of it, which is you're trapped in an arcade machine and you need to get out. And I actually did a review card for the game, so you can see that on thumbstickathletes.com. And I actually revamped the review card form. Dan, I think you're the only one that saw it.
Yeah. Do you have a template?
Kind of. It's a Photoshop template though, so
okay.
I don't know if you can use that or not. But I don't know. Did you like that review card format more than what we used to do?
Thought it looked great.
I think it was a little bit more user friendly.
Mhm.
You know, it was easier to see and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Versus, I think stylistically before, maybe might have been a little bit better, but whatever. That's neither here nor there. I compared it to Undertale and Frog Fractions,
Uh-huh.
which none of you guys played. But Frog Fractions is a game that's very much you think you're getting something, but you're totally getting something different by the end of the game, and that's what this game does. And I don't know how to talk about it without, spoiling the twists and turns. But the basic Pony Island game is that you're a pony and you're jumping over fences, and that's it. It's like a very straightforward play on like a shitty arcade game.
All right.
But a demon, maybe even Lucifer himself, has taken over the arcade cabinet and wants to steal your soul, which he has done to many people before you. So there's like pseudo hacking mini games and that kind of stuff to try to figure out how to purge Satan from the arcade cabinet.
Man, Satan and Lucifer are the worst too.
Yeah, it's a really bizarre game. It's not as good as Undertale. I think Undertale did a much better job in terms of like just creativity and implementing video game tropes that we're all familiar with, but putting a spin on them. There were times in Pony Island where I was a little bit annoyed because I just couldn't beat the stupid little mini game. Which in a game like that, you don't really want to be caught up in that side of stuff. You just want to constantly be surprised by the direction the game takes you.
Yeah.
But I did find myself getting caught up in the mundane stuff, which really kind of annoyed me.
Mm-hmm.
It's another just creative game about games. So, and it's cheap on Steam. It's like $5.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that was inexpensive.
It's probably worth it. I think it only took me 4 hours, maybe.
To beat?
Yeah.
Will, you're a little quiet.
Yeah, are you away from your mic or something?
No, it's in the same spot it's always been.
Yeah. Yeah, I did beat it, so.
Well done.
Yeah, it's hard for me to recommend it. I liked it. I think...
Does it only cater to a specific taste?
If you liked Undertale or Frog Fractions, you definitely like it.
Okay.
But for somebody who's looking for something a little deeper, probably wouldn't enjoy it. Or like the value proposition. For me, it's one of those games I'll play once and never ever play again. Right. So if your $5 is worth those 4 hours or so, then I think it was 4 hours. Maybe it was only 2. I can't remember. Then by all means, which I think that's a good value, $5 for that amount of time. But I don't know. We'll see. The other game I played is That Dragon Cancer.
That Dragon Cancer. Oh, boy.
Which, did that come out on Ouya originally?
No, it was supposed to be... I think it was supposed to be on Ouya.
Okay. It was a Ouya partnership game. I think it's one of those games that Ouya gave a bunch of money to, but then Ouya went out of business, but they still got Ouya's money. It's about a little boy named Joel. It's actually not about him, but it's about his parents.
Yeah.
True story. The developers of the game developed this game based on the story of their, at the time, 12-month-old son who got some form of, I think, brain cancer. And this one's really hard for me to judge because it's one of those games that's so personal to the developers, and it's obvious that it's personal to them. That, and this is one of the reasons why I hate review scores so much. It's almost like reading somebody's journal.
Yeah.
And it's not like, how do you compare a game like this to, another indie game that was, meant for consumers and stuff like this? I don't feel like this game is really meant for a mass audience.
Right.
But once you charge $15 for it and put it up on Steam, then you open yourself up to those criticisms, and they have been getting a lot of criticisms. There's been, I think Kotaku wrote up an article about all the haters saying, you wanted your kid to get cancer and die. You used your kid for
People
profit.
Are you
horrible.
kidding me?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. But, and I'm not defending those people, but the game itself isn't great. It's really not. But like I said, it's not. It's hard to judge it as a video game. We've been doing this for 4 years, 5 years almost.
4.5 years.
4.5 years at this point, and it's the first time I've played a game, and I just kind of felt like I can't judge it from the perspective I've been judging games all this time.
Yeah.
Because it's so personal, and it's not about Joel. It's not about. I expected it to be like, look how strong my kid was. Take this strength and use it for yourself, which is
Well, he's really too young
right.
for
But
that.
that's the story that's always told. With kids with cancer is
Right.
my child was so strong. Look at this and use his strength for yourself and use it to get through something. But it's not what it's about. It's about the parents' struggle
their struggle. Yeah.
with it. And it actually took a weird turn that I also wasn't expecting, and it got super religious.
Yeah, I heard that too. So there was actually a lot of complaints about that aspect
come
of it too.
on.
But that's the thing. Like, how can you complain about that? Because it's such a personal experience for the
And
developers.
that was my point. Like, yeah, you may not like the religion in it, but that's their story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How dare you judge their story
Mm-hmm.
because you don't like the religion in it?
Yeah.
It's just-
That bothers me to no end.
It's almost like reading a journal entry.
yeah.
It's just such a personal thing, and I can't judge it as a fake pseudo games talker about her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, well, look at it this way: was the story worth telling or reading? I mean, did you get anything from the story? Like, I don't think I'm ever going to play it. I don't
No.
think. No, you didn't get anything from it.
It was interesting, and
Right.
I got what I expected out of it, and I did. It got a little dusty in here
Uh-huh.
a couple times. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about it because it's a minor spoiler for the game, but it's one of those things that you won't know till you play and experience it for yourself. But one of my favorite moments in the game, it's all point and click. There's very little gameplay. One of my favorite moments in the game is when you're in the hospital, and I don't know if they just conscripted a bunch of their friends or family or whoever on the internet or whatever, but there was all these cards in the game sitting in the hospital that you could go up and read, and it was personal messages from people to or about their loved ones who had fought cancer and had died, or had fought cancer and had lived. And for me, that was really powerful, was to read
Yeah.
all those messages to people. And it was insane. And there was hundreds of cards in the game, and I spent probably more time doing that in the game than I did anything else, just reading all those personal notes to and from people with cancer. But my favorite moment, and this is a spoiler, but I feel like this is the best way I can talk about this game. My favorite moment in the game, and for what the point in the game that made the game for me, you are Joel's dad, and you're in the hospital with him, and Joel's crying, this child who is sick and dying of cancer, and he will not stop crying. And no matter what you do, you cannot get him to stop crying. And for me, like, that's the moment in the game where it said, this is why this game should be a video game and not something else,
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I always look for that. Like, why make this into a video game? Why not just make it into, like a short on YouTube or something like that? Because you're pressing and clicking and, trying to find the trigger to stop your child who is sick and dying to stop crying and just get him to feel at peace. And that you can't. It's really hard to find it.
Wow.
Yeah. So that, that moment in that game sort of redeemed it for me, because I did, it did lose me here and there. I thought some of the stuff got a little bit muddy, but there is some good in it. But do I think... What was your original question, Dan?
What did you get anything from it? Like, what is there any redeeming qualities about the story?
I did. I really don't. Like, I don't think I took anything away from it. Like, cancer is a tragic thing, and children. I'm the first one to stand up and say it's particularly tragic. That's one of the reasons why I love doing the extra life thing so much.
Yep.
A lot of those kids don't stand a chance, and God bless them. Let's do the little that we can to help.
Yeah.
But I don't think I really took anything away from it, to be honest.
Okay.
I kind of expected.
Life changing?
No, because like I didn't walk away feeling any different about kids with cancer than I did before I played it.
No, I'm talking about, did you expect something life changing?
Not really. I guess it kind of delivered what I expected. It's one of those things. I guess it's kind of the ambassador game kind of thing, where it's like, this is a game that you should show to people who think games are stupid and don't do anything meaningful and all that, right? But as for me personally, like, did I grow by playing this game or anything like that? I don't think so. I don't know.
I probably won't ever play it, only because that's as a parent, that's not something I want to experience, even when told through someone else's story.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm ever going to be able to play that.
Yeah.
It's too.
Yeah. No, I totally hear you. I did like it, and it did tug on the emotional strings. Like, I did get the catharsis and all that out of it, but
Yeah.
and it was really interesting, to see their personal story. Like I said, it's like a journal entry, and see like how they felt at certain times.
Right.
Because it's a series of vignettes. It's scenes of the progression and all that stuff. And one of my favorite scenes is when you're sitting with the doctor and he explains to you that your son is terminal. But it does a lot with symbolism and metaphors and stuff like that. It plays on the imagery in the game, and there's a lot of weird dream sequences and stuff that tries to speak to those things. But do I think it's an important game? Yes. Did I get anything out of it? Nah. But it is, like, I did definitely feel something, and I think most people that play it would.
You'd have to be dead inside not to.
Yeah.
How long is this game, did you say?
2 hours. Just under 2 hours.
Okay.
I feel like an hour and 50 or something like that. Actually, it's funny. I had to stop. I played it in 2 sittings because the first time I played it, I got motion sickness.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was really awful because if you force yourself through if you let motion sickness get worse, it's a really uncomfortable feeling.
Yeah.
It's worse than like hangover nausea, in my experience anyway. But I forced myself through it a little bit just because I wanted to get through the whole game in one sitting, and it got to the point where I was like tearing up and really nauseous, and I'm like, I can't do this.
Yeah, I get it.
So I had to put it away for a night, and then I picked it up the next day.
Nice.
But yeah, I beat
that,
it. I
That
beat it.
Dragon Cancer.
Yeah. Thanks, Will.
No problem.
I gotta
Put them
get
on
a
the list, Dan.
I've got to get the list going. I haven't started it yet.
We also have to go over our last year list.
Oh yeah, we can do that today if you want.
Yeah.
We have time. We're almost at 2.5 hours already.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's all I got for games, so.
Okay.
Maybe I'll play that tonight.
Will, what do you got?
I got a lot of stuff, Dan. So I played and beat 3 games.
What?
Dying Light,
Oh, good.
Well
Modern
done.
Warfare 2,
Eh.
and Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Well
Okay.
done.
Modern Warfare 2 I'll start with, only because I'm playing through the Call of Duty campaigns, and that was the next one on the list, so I just kind of, I don't remember what I was doing, but I just played through it in like 2 sittings, and, that's good campaign. Not a whole lot to say, but I did beat Dying Light. Now, the night that I recorded last, I said I was going to go home and beat it, so I did, and it was like 3 in the morning. I kept thinking I was like at the last part, but it kept kind of extending on.
Yeah.
And I was pretty tired. So like I was trying to do the parkour stuff at the end of the game, and I kept dying because I was so tired.
It was a high spot. You probably kept falling off. Right.
Yeah, right before the fight at the end. Yeah, that's exactly where I was falling.
What did you think about the fight at the end?
I was so tired that I had no thoughts.
Okay.
I loved the game.
Yeah.
I think it's a great game. But I had nothing going on for the last. Like, I don't really get mad about quick time events anymore, really, because I don't know how else they would have done the fight. Because when they do boss fights like that with like a one-on-one human, they're never really that good, in my opinion. It's just like I run up and knife him a couple times, then run away.
Yeah.
So I mean, kind of okay.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I at least wanted like a fight, because I wouldn't have, even if it was a very one-sided fight and I won it handily, I probably would have preferred that, just because I wanted to beat the tar out of the last guy.
Yeah. I hated it.
I never got that chance with the quick time events. It's just you do that and it's just kind of over.
Refresh my memory.
His name?
You just fight. You do it. You have a quick time event fight against a guy like up at the top of a tower. Basically.
Oh, but isn't the lead into that or out of that very parkoury?
Yeah, up to it.
Which I struggled with because I was exhausted.
Stuff. But one of the things the game does really well is it's obviously one of the games that you can continue after you beat it, but it gives a good explanation for that, because you're like not done saving people in the world, and it just kind of like a lot of them are just like will drop you off to back before you started the last mission or whatever. This one, it's just you've completed everything, but there's still a ton of stuff to be done in the city, so it just kind of
he has a good line to the agency that he worked for at the end of the game.
Yeah.
About it and why he wanted to stay.
Yep.
And I didn't think the story was that bad. I thought the story was
fine.
Better than most like games like that. I don't remember the Dead Island story at all, but I remember this one was way better, I thought. Yeah. I want to buy the expansion stuff, the DLC. Does that work with you owning the game?
No, I think you have to buy the game. I think. I don't think you can just buy DLC for a game that I own. I don't think.
That makes sense.
But you can, if you own the game and the DLC, Dan, Will can play the DLC content, right?
Yeah, I could get the DLC at some point.
Maybe I'll buy a definitive edition. Oh, you do?
Yeah, I want to get the DLC for it because I like the game enough, and the DLC is supposed to be a significant addition to the game. So
I hear it's awesome. They're adding a Doom buggy or whatever to just ride around in, and it's in the country, which is a little bit different from what the game had before in the city. I do want to say I like the second area way more. I don't know if I said that the last time I was on the podcast. It felt more vertical, and I was able to connect my roof jumping way better than I was before. But yeah, no, I really, really liked Dying Light.
It's good stuff.
Then I played Rise of the Tomb Raider, and I just started playing this like 2 days ago. I felt like it was time to get back to it. And having not played the reboot for more than 25 minutes or whatever, Tomb Raider is unbelievably good. This one, I don't know. I talked to somebody at work who played Rise of the Tomb Raider, and he stopped playing it because he felt it was too much like the other one. But not having experienced the other one, I thought this game was amazing. So I'm interested to get your guys' thoughts on it. I just felt like it was so much fun. I loved the action in it. I liked the crafting. I thought the environments to the game were amazing. Just this game did a lot of good things. Did a lot right. And I don't know if I'm just in the mood for Tomb Raider 2, if that helped. But as Eric said, it did what Uncharted does, but like better, I guess. So
it's the snow, isn't it, Will?
It's funny you mentioned that. The first half of the game, which was in the snow, I liked more than the second half of the game because it wasn't. I just like being able to hunt bears in the blizzard. Like, that was awesome. But that comes out this month, right? At the end of the month on PC.
29th.
Are you getting it, Dan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll be able to get it right when it comes out.
Oh man.
I'll have to wait till tax return, but
Mhm.
I think. But I mean, and XCOM is coming out like a week later, so
Dan, you should let me buy a game.
you don't have to.
It's-
I like to have all the games that I want. I like. I
Really?
mean, yeah. Part
I'm
of
the
it is
same way.
giving the developer money for games. And I just like to
That's a
have.
stupid reason.
Well, I like to
No, I'm
have.
just kidding. Just kidding.
I like to have unfettered access to my games
Until Steam goes down.
Well,
Eh.
you can still play. Oh, you mean when they finally shut Steam down in
Yeah.
25, 35
Yeah.
when we have our second apocalypse?
Yeah. Steam goes under.
Yeah.
That'd be horrible. Yeah, I love Tomb Raider. I did a couple of the optional tombs. I think when I beat the game, I was at 60% completed. There's a lot to that game, and the puzzles for me, I'm not really good at like figuring out puzzles and stuff like that. But they were hard enough to where I stopped to look at it for a little bit, but not long enough to where I had to look up anything. So that's like the perfect balance. Maybe to you, Dan or Corey, who are better at that sort of thing, you'll find them easy. I think Eric was in sort of where I am with it too.
Yeah.
Which is good. I think that's like the perfect balance for puzzles in a game. That's not a puzzle game.
Mm.
But yeah, just this
Play
game.
the Alice Principle, Will. I don't think you would like it. I think Corey is the only one of us that would like it.
I like Portal is another one that like doesn't really appeal to me too much.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just I'm weird with puzzle games. I just don't really want to play them unless it's under the guise of a action adventure game like Tomb Raider.
Fair enough.
But this game is beautiful. Just the landscapes, the tombs underground, like the water. Just it was so much fun, and I did not get bored playing it one bit.
Good.
Story I didn't really pay too much attention to until the end.
Yeah.
But a great game. Are we counting it for Thummies this year since it's coming out on the other two platforms this year?
No.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Why?
I think it should only be considered for Thummies the year it releases.
Yeah, but I had no access to it the year it released until it came out on PC.
That's part of our thing.
Right.
Right?
No, I think it's fair that PC players finally have access to it. So
I think it should have its own category.
I don't know.
I mean, it's I see both ways because it came out on one platform last year, but now it's coming out on the two this year. So like it's coming out more this year.
Well,
I guess.
if our thing is, what not only what games do you think are worthwhile, but what platforms do you think are worthwhile? Then because you didn't have access to it,
Yeah, that's your decision.
that's part of the
Yeah.
choices you make along the way.
That's a fair point.
Looks like this game will just win 2016's 2015 Game of the Year.
Or it could have its own category.
Yeah, because I feel like there's more of that going on now with timed platform exclusivity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Few indie games that are like that are coming out this year that, Kingdom Come Deliverance is one that's coming out on PC in the summer. May come out this year for PS4 and Xbox One, but we don't know. There's no release windows for those yet.
Do we do the best remaster re-release category maybe? I don't know.
It would have to have its own very specifically worded category. Best game that came out on one platform a different year, but finally came out on this
Yeah.
That would have to be worded very specific.
It's just to give Tomb Raider another award, really.
Well, yeah, I mean, Tomb Raider won a couple awards.
Yeah.
Was it one or two? Did it?
It won the first two.
Yeah. So.
Deserving. What a game.
Yeah. I can't wait to play.
So good. I'll just run through the other things I played through. Halo 5. Halo 5's great. I've been playing a few multiplayer games every day or 2 days or whatever. I'm getting a lot better.
Multiplayer?
Yeah, multiplayer.
How's that?
I think it's great.
Excuse me.
Skyrim, I've been playing a lot of that. The only reason why I stopped was to play Tomb Raider. But I'm gonna
Modded?
get back. Yeah, modded. I have the graphics looking real good. I did all of the Thieves Guild stuff.
Nice.
So I have the Nightingale armor, and I started Dawn Guard, and I'm at like 21 hours already. So like, that just kind of shows how much is in that game.
That guide worked for you?
Yeah, it worked great.
Yeah. You really have you really have to do it right, or else you're just gonna, like you said, completely screw up your game. Did you have to like start over, delete everything, and reinstall it?
Actually, no. I don't know. Everything just kind of worked after I left Markarth. When I had everything modded, it didn't load. The game kept crashing because I had a mod, but I didn't have the other part of the mod to make that part work.
Gotcha.
And I couldn't
There's a few of those like sub mods that you need to have other mods work, and it's not always clear.
Yeah.
In the mod description when that's necessary, but the like I said, that guide I used had everything working like perfectly.
Exactly. And I didn't get boss to work though.
Oh, really?
Which, yeah, I don't know if I was just being stupid and just couldn't get it, but I didn't even. But everything ran fine, and I haven't added any more mods. But Skyrim's so good.
Yeah.
Not game of the generation good, but really good.
Oh, come on.
Isn't that what we ended up picking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where we all had different games in mind, but that was the only one we could
had in common.
Settle for.
Yeah.
I still stand by. We've had that experience with Oblivion and Morrowind.
Yeah. That's fair. But my argument always is it's a game that's gonna live on for a very long time because you're playing it now.
And it's also the best version of Oblivion and Morrowind, you know? Two great games.
A lot of people would really argue the Morrowind.
No way.
I watched gameplay and I'm like, ugh.
Initially, when Morrowind came out, comparatively, Morrowind compared to Skyrim when it first came out, Morrowind blew my mind.
Sure.
Yeah.
Skyrim not as much. Morrowind does not hold up at all.
Which the reason why I say that Skyrim not the game of the generation, because Morrowind came out for the first Xbox, and you got that sort of experience doing that.
Yeah, I got it on Xbox, and then I bought it on PC later, so I could mod it.
Incidentally, people are making Morrowind and Oblivion in the Skyrim engine.
Yeah, those never end up being
coming
finished.
Out. Yeah.
Because they were supposed to they were doing Morrowind in the Oblivion engine, and it just never. I hope they get them out, but it just never ends up working.
Yeah, I wonder.
End up finishing.
This reminds me. I ended up buying Oblivion Game of the Year for $8 on the Humble store because they were doing a sale. Because I've never played Oblivion like more than 2 hours.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's okay.
So yeah, everybody tells me Oblivion was the best, and I don't understand.
Who says that?
Stuff I read online, my friends.
No. Some people love Oblivion. Of the
worst.
Morrowind was my favorite, but it does not.
What's wrong with you?
What?
Skyrim is by far the best.
Yeah,
By far.
I'm saying comparatively, I got a lot more out of Morrowind. Like I said,
time of release, right?
Exactly.
Like that's okay. Yeah,
Which makes Skyrim not game of the generation.
Whatever.
I'm actually in agreement that it's game of the generation, but
I don't have a huge issue with that.
I will take that to my grave.
I don't remember what I put forth as my top. It might have been Skyrim. No, I don't think it was.
Corey and I put Mass Effect.
I think Mass Effect 2 was on my list.
Yeah, it's Mass Effect 2.
Specifically 2.
I can't wait for the new Mass Effect, you guys.
It's going to be awesome.
I'm so excited. Yeah.
I hope there's microtransactions all over the place.
I don't know that BioWare would be okay with that.
Read this codex, pay 99 cents.
Well, it's BioWare published by EA, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think BioWare wears the pants in that relationship.
Definitely. They can kind of do what they want. They've earned it for us to.
Inquisition was still really good.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're
Yeah.
going soft like Bethesda.
Inquisition was good.
I liked it.
I know I was hard on it, but that was a pretty good game.
Real quick, I started Black Flag. I really wanted to play it. I started a lot of Assassin's Creed games. I started Rogue for like 5 minutes, but I stopped playing. I was just running through games on Curse when I was talking to one of my friends. And I started Black Flag. That game's I want to like once I started playing, I didn't want to stop.
Yeah, all the pirate stuff is so good in that.
Oh yeah.
It's the best pirate game there is.
And then I saw I had it on my one for free, so I'm gonna play it on that. I think instead of PC because I want like the bigger screen.
You could plug your computer into your TV.
I could, but I'm lazy.
Do you remember how excited we were for Mass Effect, AC3,
Yeah.
and how not excited we were for AC4?
And AC
Boy.
up being awesome.
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna go back and play AC3. Try.
I'll never play that game again.
You
That
poor
made me
bastard.
rage quit, and I sold my Xbox 360 because of it.
Yep.
I was like, fuck this game and fuck this console.
Yeah. That's
After-
Dan. That is not an overreaction either.
No, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
I was actually telling Dan off air, Corey, before you got back that I'm in the market for a PlayStation 3, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I want to go back and play some of the other games that aren't remastered because I don't want to do PlayStation Now because I can't even Skype without ruining the internet in the house.
Yeah.
You had some
I noticed you got a little.
chop parts.
Figures.
Will got a little 1999 on us when you were talking earlier.
Sounded a little tinny.
Oh, God. And I want to play the old PlayStation 1 games that they have on there. And I don't want a 360 because 1 already has backwards compatibility. So,
Will, you've got an offer in the chat for PS3, so if you're curious, dive in.
really,
Yeah.
Tito, I would 100% buy your PlayStation 3.
As long as it comes with all the games you got on it. I actually sold my PS3 to my roommate, and he created his own account on it, but all my downloadable games were available on his account.
Yeah, Sony does that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Mm. Now I want to
yeah.
play like 5 different games after Will's running through these.
Yeah, Tito.
Black Flag is one of them I want to play. I have that on my Uplay account. I got it with my video card.
Speaking of Pirates of the Caribbean,
Yeah.
what a great
I hated
way
the
to scratch
Assassin's
that
part.
itch.
I hated the assassin parts in that game though.
Yeah.
Still had the shitty controls.
Yeah.
What was
Especially after playing Syndicate. I don't know that I could go back and play with the shitty AC4 controls. Well, maybe. I could try it.
the last good pirate game? Sid Meier's?
Sid Meier's Pirates was fantastic. And in this week's Humble Bundle.
Yeah.
Probably. I played a couple pirate games and none of them really stood out.
Oh, Sunless Sea. Sunless Sea's really good.
Yeah. I haven't played that yet. Risen 2.
I don't think I've
Risen
played that
2?
one. No, not familiar.
It was
yeah, Risen.
janky RPG. Okay. What else you play, Will?
I played Smite.
Smite.
I won't talk about that because we've been going long. That game's fun. I'm not good at it. I like Heroes more. That's where I dedicate my time. But I wanted to talk about Fallout 4.
Yeah, let's talk about Fallout 4.
1 sec. Let me type this message to Tito.
Will, are you going to be positive on Fallout 4?
So, I started playing it, and something hit me. I spec my character for intelligence, lockpicking, speech, basically all of that stuff to like get more lore out of the game from terminals, lockpicks, doing speech checks, and it hit me. There's no lore. in
No.
anything. I went to a bunker. I broke into the presidential bunker, went to the computer, hacked it, and it was wiped by the Brotherhood of Steel. I didn't get anything in a master locked area.
Yeah.
Um,
Look, there's never going to be anything interesting that you'll find behind a lock-picked door. There's
Nope.
never going to be anything interesting you'll find behind a computer console. There's never going to be anything interesting you'll find from even a speech check. You might, come to a resolution a little quicker, but you're never going to discover anything interesting based on that.
Corey, the speech checks. No, I got like 2 in my entire playthrough on PS4, and I haven't gotten one on my PC playthrough.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So like I spec my character for combat now, which is fine, but the RPG elements there are none really. Like the special tree is fine and the perks, but they took out the thing that I love that made Fallout 4 and New Vegas awesome was being able to put your points in laser weapons, melee weapons, speech, stuff like that. That's gone. So there's only the special tree with some perks, but like
Dan, I know you disagree with us.
I don't disagree with you.
No, he
Okay.
doesn't. He never disagreed. I still like the game. I think it's a good game. But looking back at Fallout 3 and New Vegas, like they are infinitely better games than 4.
It makes you wonder like what took so long. I said the same thing about Diablo when Diablo 3 came out. Like why did it take so long to come out with this?
Yeah, they've been working on it for years.
Right. I think honestly what I personally think it is the settlement building stuff, which is
Yeah.
good, but it's not implemented into the game to a point where it makes a lick of a difference.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's why I didn't bother with that stuff. I'm like, why am I going to waste my time with this? If I'm not like enjoying doing it, then why bother? It's not going to enhance my understanding of the game or the game world or anything like that. It's just a silly aside that gives me a benefit in combat every now and again when I fire a flare.
Yeah. No, and I don't disagree with any of the stuff you said about it at
Yeah.
all. You're absolutely right about everything.
And
It's just none of that stuff bothered me as much as maybe it bothered you guys.
and
I was just happy with better combat.
I get that too. Like I don't. It's like I said, it's still a good game, and it does a lot still right. But I
Yeah.
think they just kind of scaled back so much on the things that made the game. Like Fallout 3 in New Vegas, like I didn't so much in New Vegas as I did 3, but like I beat that game like 8 different times, did different stuff. Like another thing I really like about it is like the little pockets of civilization that are throughout the game. But like in Fallout 4, it was Good Neighbor and Diamond City. Really, if you think about it, for like civilizations, they like expect you to build the rest of them, and I don't want to spend time to build all of them.
Yeah.
With me, it's sort of like I spec my character based on the idea of excess, like you talked about, lockpicking, the computer hacking, speech checks. And when you're not rewarded for any of that throughout the game, and it's like, okay, I have this great lockpicking skill. Oh, here's the master lock. What's behind it? And it's just like, oh, here's some pre-war money and some ammo. It's like, what a freaking waste. Like I'm spending all this time exploring. I want to be rewarded for that. And you never, ever are. You might find a bobblehead.
Yeah.
But like, where's like the cool lore element, like you were talking about? Where's the cool lore elements? Where's the sense of discovery and reward when you find something that you could only find because your character was built the way they are?
Yeah.
You'd never see that.
And there's 2 things. I think is it Pete Hines? Is he like one of the head guys at Bethesda?
Yeah.
It's not the dude who talked on stage, but it was.
Well, Pete Hines is the one that talked on stage.
Maybe I don't know his name. It's not the guy who did most of the talking about Fallout 4. I can't remember the guy's name. I'm going to look it up so I don't say the wrong person.
It doesn't really matter.
Oh, it matters to me.
Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. Pete Hines wasn't the guy on stage.
Okay, yeah. Okay, Pete Hines is this guy. There's a picture of him saying something along the lines of that he doesn't have the patience for like long dialogue, which is what Bethesda games are like based like around the dialogue in the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't have the exact quote, but he also said to somebody else that he's not interested in discussing how realistic things are in an alternate universe post-apocalyptic game with talking mutants and ghouls over like lore not being in there. Which is another thing, like, if you're making an open world game full of content like this, like, why you should fill it with stuff, you know what I mean? I don't know. It just, hearing those things makes me a little nervous about, like, Bethesda games now. If, like, the next Elder Scroll game is going to be sort of like this, I don't think I'm going to want to like it as much as I do.
Excuse me. Yeah.
But I don't know. I think Fallout 4 is the thing is I'm still gonna play it and I'm still probably gonna buy the DLC. But I just don't think it's I think if I played Tomb Raider last year, that game would probably have been 4 and Dying Light would have been 5. Mm-hmm. Fallout wouldn't have been in my top 5. It's sad. I looked forward to this game and hoped for it and defended it for a while, but now I'm just starting to be like, on it. But
fair enough.
It's just, for me, it just got so tiresome digging through trash and never being rewarded for it.
Especially because I didn't build or make that many weapons because, I don't know, I didn't feel like modding them.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, Tito asked a really good question in the chat. As someone who didn't play Fallout 3 and none of New Vegas, what's an example of that lore element from those games that stood out to you?
So there'd be a lot of stuff talking about like pre-war, like what happened. So you'd be reading like why. An example would be like, what was the sun? It was the Robco stuff, the robot company, and like you'd read through data like pre-war and stuff like that, and get information about like what happened before the war and like how different companies like Nuka-Cola sprouted about like during like the war and whatnot. And you just like get stuff about like everything that happened before the war, during the war, and like because it was like 200 years after.
Yeah.
Like, you get stuff like about that before it and stuff. It's just reading all that stuff, but like it's just like bad. Like now it's just like bad email stuff. Like I don't know. It's hard.
And you go into an area, and every computer terminal says the same thing.
Yep.
That wasn't the case in the previous Fallout ones. Like each terminal you unlocked had something different referenced in it.
Yeah, like in Fallout 3, it talked about like I think it was a missile silo that talked about where it was sending missiles to, like in China to bomb them back.
Yeah.
And you could still send it if you wanted or not.
Yeah.
And it just talks about like the attack and like China starting it or whatever. I don't know. I just feel like in Fallout 4 there wasn't any of that. Granted, I haven't played it to the extent that I played Fallout 3 and even New Vegas, but it doesn't seem to be there.
Yeah, I mean, I played a lot of Fallout 4, and I dug through a lot of trash.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just didn't get out of it what I got out of the other games. I don't know.
The thing I liked about Fallout 4, and I mean, I don't even know if you did this mission, Will, but there's, I spent my entire time like building. I did a fair amount of building, but I also I really enjoyed the weapon modding part of it.
Yeah.
That's something else I enjoyed, but I like doing the side missions. Did you do the one with the robots on the ship?
No, I haven't, and I want to do that because that sounds awesome.
Yeah, that was a really, really cool mission with a really interesting ending to it. And I guess it continues on. I haven't done that, but the only thing I got from wandering and exploring things is the occasional extra side mission. For example, I was playing last week maybe, and I came across a child trapped in a fridge. And it turned out to be a ghoul child trapped in the fridge. And when he comes out, you know, he's wants his parents, but he's a ghoul. You're like, well, your parents are probably dead.
Yeah.
He wants to go back to his home anyway. And you escort him to his home through a couple battles and stuff. And it turns out, well, no, his parents aren't dead. They're ghouls too.
They're ghouls too.
So it's a nice little heartwarming moment. But that's the stuff. That's the enjoyment that I got out of Fallout 4 was doing those side missions. By exploration, maybe not so much the lore stuff, but the side missions from it.
I haven't done those side missions, and it's weird because when I was playing on PS4, I wasn't getting any side missions no matter what I did. The only missions I kept getting were the stupid
Repeatable
Minutemen.
ones.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
were the Minutemen one
Oh.
and the Brotherhood of Steel ones, and I was like, where are the missions? And I
just
missed
stopped doing
those
that
two.
stuff. I stopped doing that stuff eventually.
But the problem is like if you even are near Preston Garvey, he's like, oh, I have something for
Yeah,
you.
no.
It's like,
Everyone
well-
hates.
Yeah, there's so many memes like I've got something different for you this time. I keep seeing that on
Yeah.
Reddit and stuff. But even the missions I discovered, I didn't think they were as interesting and exclusive to the Fallout universe as they should be, as they were in the other Fallout games.
Really?
I really didn't.
I-
I mentioned in the chat like going to Little Lamplight, like the city of all the kids and stuff in Fallout 3. And or was that New Vegas? No, that was 3.
That was 3.
No, that was New Vegas.
Was it?
No, Little Lamplight was in 3.
Yeah.
There was also the mission in Rivet City where you find out that the security guard is actually a droid.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: the 2 missions Dan talked about are cool. And can I get into spoilers? Is that going to be an issue?
Yeah, get into spoilers. Who cares?
It's been out for.
As long as it's not like main late story stuff.
This one's late story for Brotherhood, sorta.
Go ahead.
One of them talks about Paladin Dance, and he's actually a synth.
Oh, no kidding.
And he runs away because they're not happy with him. And this is when you're pretty high up through the Brotherhood of Steel. You use your clout with Elder Maxon to let you keep Paladin Dance around because he's been loyal and he hasn't turned coat at all. So like I didn't know he was a synth. Like my friend Tom told me that, and like that sounded cool. Maybe I chose the wrong faction, but from what I played, I haven't seen anything cool like that really, other than like Fort Hagen, which was pretty cool. A couple like cool combat scenarios where like all of the factions are fighting in one spot. But
I did a bunch of the railroad missions,
yep,
and I can tell you there is not one cool railroad mission.
which is disappointing because the
Nothing
railroad.
interesting. It's
Railroad.
like, oh, go pick up the drop. It's like, okay. And then it's just going to pick up a drop. It's
And
stupid.
And it sucks because the railroad is one of the more compelling factions, and I think like if you tell me the brief synopsis of all of them, like that sounds like the coolest.
Yeah. And
It's
even
like-
Tinker Tom, great
Yeah.
character. They don't take advantage of that.
No, he wants you to go set up Milas everywhere.
Yeah. It's
Like-
and that's a repeatable mission. It's like
I don't-
I did a bunch of them thinking I would get something out of it, but he just kept saying like, "Oh, got another one for you. Got another one for you."
Did you
What a
did you
waste of
guys do
time.
Did you guys do the missions for John Hancock and Good Neighbor?
No.
I did some of them, yeah.
Are those good? I mean,
Yeah. The one with this. Did you do the one with the serial killer, the guy that kills the bandits?
Yeah.
Didn't you think that was cool?
No, yeah, that was cool. That was one of the examples of a cool side mission. It was just like I can't tell what's just repeatable missions and whatnot. Like it's to the point where I'm worried to do one side missions because I don't want it to be like the endless whatever. Like I'd like to have a resolution to the missions I'm doing instead
Yeah.
of repeating. So like
An
I'm
arc.
worried. Yeah, an arc.
I pretty much got to the point where anytime like someone would say, "Oh, you need to go save or rescue," I guess it was rescue a kidnapped citizen from this settlement, I just stopped doing those things because those are the radiant missions that got to be annoying.
So I mean, yeah, there are like cool side missions. I don't know, maybe if it's nostalgia that's like.
it's
making
well.
me like-
The thing is, Will, is it probably is, and I
Yeah.
think it is for me too. But we're at the point now where a game like Fallout 4 should do way more than what you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Than what we remember Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas did. And I really don't think it did.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the building, but I feel like they took out everything else I loved about it, which was the small pockets of civilization and the RPG elements and stuff. Like, I would be able to build my character to do what I wanted, but I can't, like, do any of the things. It's not worth it to do the things that I used to be able to do in the game, basically.
Yeah.
There's no point in putting anything in intelligence unless you want to do the gun nut stuff. Same thing with speech. Like, there's really no reason.
No. You don't worry about lockpicking. You're never gonna find anything worthwhile.
No. Like, you might as well just go straight combat and just fight through everything and find the security passwords and the keys to open up everything.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you on that. 100%.
It makes me really sad because I really, really want to love this game more than 3 in New Vegas, but I just don't think I will.
Yep. I'm with you.
Yeah, if they could do the combat of Fallout 4, even the settlement building of Fallout 4, and put it in with the RPG systems of New Vegas, it would probably be the perfect game.
And I
because
hope
the factions, I thought the faction system in New Vegas was fantastic.
Yeah.
Really fantastic.
I don't understand why I can't have. Why do I have to kill every faction?
I really think that they wanted to make a more broadly appealing game.
Yeah,
I think that's what it boils down to. They wanted to make, and I'm sure the sales numbers will end up saying that Fallout 4 was a much bigger seller than maybe even Fallout 3 and New Vegas combined. I don't know, but
you're probably right.
sales figures are going to be a lot higher.
which to them means, oh, keep doing this.
Right.
Let's
You'll
keep
have to- you know
stripping
what?
the RPG elements and just turn it into a shooter.
You know what?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to wait like a year and revisit the mods, because
Yeah.
I guarantee that players will figure out a way to put all those awesome like RPG mechanics and systems back into the game.
I've actually
That's
read
the
that
one
they are
complaint.
doing that
Oh.
already.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time before that comes out. So
And there's another cool mod that's being worked on. It's a weather, dynamic weather. So every certain amount of days, it'll be a certain season, and then it'll go into like if it's summer, it'll go to fall, and then it'll go to winter, and then it'll go to spring, and it just cycles through.
yeah, I saw the
like-
season one. It's
Like
awesome.
that looks awesome, and like I think that gives the game a little bit more appeal, other than it being the same drab basically, which I don't care because I understand the environment that it's in, but it would be cool to have a little bit more weather variance in the game.
The seasons one looks cool. I was gonna give that a try if Dragon's Dogma wasn't out.
Yeah, is it out already?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe I'll do it then. But I mean, that's it for my Fallout dialogue. I had the realization. I knew Corey would really appreciate it.
Will, how much trash did you dig through?
Uh,
As soon as you started talking about it, Corey just got this giant shit-eating grin on his face.
he was so happy.
Yes, he was.
I still had fun with Fallout 4. I really did, but I just think it's step back. Or
And I don't even
sidestep.
disagree with you guys. I just had more fun with it than you did.
Yeah.
And you found cool quests, like at least 2 cool quests from what I.
Oh, I found a lot of them. That's just a small sampling.
Go ahead, Will.
I was gonna say my playing of Fallout 4 isn't done. It's just I'm kind of mad right now, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Nick Valentine saved the game for me.
I actually really like all the companions. Really, I like Piper. I like Nick Valentine. Really like Dogmeat
Yeah.
because he didn't judge me for siding with the Institute. So, and I thought the main story was really good. I knew a lot of people didn't like it, but I actually thought it was really good. Really good.
Yeah, I liked
So
it.
it's okay.
I think it was the best main story for a Bethesda game yet.
I won't disagree with that, but that
So.
still just makes it okay in my book.
Yeah, you're right.
It is a pretty low bar.
Yeah.
I would say Fallout 4 than Fallout 3 for like the arc of stories.
Yeah,
I thought Skyrim was awful.
Story. New Vegas' story wasn't very good either. I don't think.
Yeah.
No.
Well, the cool
I don't
thing with
know.
that, that's an Obsidian game. I kind of count it separately,
Yeah,
but
they did come out and say they'd be willing to do more Fallout.
if they did and they made it, it's got to be weird for Bethesda that you spent all this time making this game and people want another developer to do
People
it.
are pining for New Vegas.
Yeah.
They might do it because didn't New Vegas come out like a year? Or
Year.
was it 2 years? 2 years after
I think it
Fallout?
was.
I think it was 2.
I think it was 2.
So I mean, they may already be working on.
The way he worded it, he didn't just completely deny. He said something along the lines, yeah, it was 2 years. Along the lines of, we're not against it and we have something else being developed, but you never know, or something like that. I don't know.
Maybe they're working on one. A more hardcore Fallout experience.
Fallout New Orleans. Nolans.
There's a lot of cool areas that they could go to in the Fallout universe.
China. Come on. Alaska.
There was
actually, yeah.
Alaska.
Yeah, they
One of the
briefly
DLCs.
they briefly did Alaska, so they could
that's
do
right.
a lot there.
Yeah.
But I think that was during the war, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was before everything ended.
Yeah. So okay, let's move on, shall we? Did you play anything else, Will?
No, I ran through everything.
Okay. Feedback. Corey, you want to compile the feedback?
Yeah. Can I run and take a pee break really quick?
Yeah, sure.
All right. You guys can talk. It'll be 2 seconds.
2 seconds. All right.
Dan, I got a question for you. It's
What's up?
unrelated to video games. Nashville getting Jonathan Drouin?
I don't know. I mean, if they can not give up much for him, I'd be fine with that.
I mean,
I wouldn't want to give up a Seth Jones, another Seth Jones for him.
I know a lot of people. I'm kind of his attitude.
Yeah, that's worrisome, definitely. But it might just be his situation wasn't good with the team. Ryan Johansson's been good for Nashville.
I was gonna say he's had a point pretty much in every game, right?
Yeah,
And a couple in a few games.
you're not against Chicago. But yeah, I think he's got like 10 points in 7 games or something like that. So our scoring woes haven't been solved, but they're
Rene
definitely
at
gotten
least,
better.
at least Rene played better today.
Yeah. Yeah, like tonight Johansson had a goal and an assist.
There you go. And it's funny. I was watching a little bit of the Columbus game today, and Bobrovsky got hurt again.
Ah,
Yeah,
no. I'm in my other fantasy league, so.
they brought him back too early again. And the top defensive pairing for Columbus is Ryan Murray and Seth Jones, and they were +1.
Uh-huh.
Everybody else was like -3.
Yeah, Seth Jones has done really well for Columbus already.
I feel really bad for Seth Jones right now.
Yeah. Well, he's the number 1 D-man probably on them. He was on the 3rd pairing in Nashville, so.
Yeah, he's number 1 now. Then Ryan Murray is number 2.
Yeah. So it's good
Yeah.
for his career, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of people are saying now that if Columbus can get rid of a few more bad contracts, that their defensive core is going to be real good when everybody comes up, and then if they get Austin Matthews.
Yeah. Are they that bad?
Yeah, they're atrocious. I mean, Bobrovsky got hurt again.
Yeah.
For the 4th time, and like
And their two goalies are both like 21 and 22 or something like that.
They're all both AHL right now, and I don't know, it's bad because Columbus is one of those teams that I kind of like because I like how they play and they have a lot of Rangers, and just feel bad.
Okay.
Ready?
Yep.
Yeah.
I know we had one from Jake last week that we missed, so
We did.
get that one, and then I don't know if we got anything new. We had last time I checked.
We got a message from Tito.
Okay.
Tito from LA here. So I played most of Undertale. I'm at the very end, I think. My expectations of Undertale, I think, soured the experience something I was afraid would happen. When hearing about Undertale from others and their excitement about mentioning the game, I had the impression that the story was stellar, and it was one of those things where there's a couple twists either at the end or throughout the game. So while playing, I was looking at it as more of a story experience and not so much as an actual RPG. The effect this had was it made the game feel longer because I would get annoyed at random encounters or anytime I felt dragged the game on or something slowing the pace for me. Essentially, playing 10 minutes of this game felt like I was putting in an hour, and knowing the game was around 8 hours long, I groaned. It was a real bummer, and for the most part, I have myself to blame because Undertale is an actual RPG and not so much like a journey experience. My thoughts overall of the game, meh.
Yeah.
So, even though I'm at the very end of Undertale, I moved on to Life is Strange.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about Undertale a little bit before we move on to the rest of Tito's email?
Sure.
I can understand him.
I was totally in the same boat. I honestly didn't end up loving the game until pretty close to the end myself.
Was it the final boss fight, Dan?
That was part of it, yeah. The stuff that happens after the final boss fight and the events that happen in subsequent playthroughs are what really intrigued me about the game.
Okay.
So. That
And
was that was where it was for me. The music all the way through. I was the same way. The random encounters kind of annoyed me, especially since once you saw an enemy once, you knew, like, if you were doing a pacifist playthrough, I guess once you knew like what to do, that kind of ruined it,
Yeah.
So
And also him talking about his expectations soured it. I can totally,
yeah, oh
totally
yeah,
see that.
definitely, because that's why I think I didn't enjoy the game until the very very end. So that's the fair assessment.
Absolutely. As someone who didn't love the game, just liked it.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Hmm?
Totally. I moved on to Life is Strange. Good choice. This was
Very
more of a
good.
game I wanted to play, I realized, because it's light on gameplay and is more story driven, which is what I'm in the mood for at the moment because much of my actual gaming is dedicated to Rocket League right now. I really enjoyed Life is Strange, and I wanted to bring up something that ties into the Ambassador Games category.
Mhm.
What won our Ambassador Game of the Year?
I typed them up to you, Corey. Did you get my email?
Yeah,
with the
I
winners?
got it. I can call it up.
'Cause I don't think I saved it.
Did Life is Strange win?
Oh no, I got it right here. Ambassador game.
Yeah, because I know I gave it 1.
Life is Strange. Yeah.
Okay. Getting back to Tito's point. Sorry. Making decisions is a great game mechanic because it's something everyone is familiar with, even non-gamers. And a lot of the time, making decisions is very engaging because once you decide, there's no going back. We make decisions all the time in real life, so a game like Life is Strange, The Walking Dead game, etc. are really fun because anybody can connect with being given a choice and having to deal with the consequences of that choice. Life is Strange takes that to a fun level where we can see different consequences due to the rewind feature. So generally, when I think of an ambassador game in the future, I'll try to pick something that makes fun use of making decisions in a video game, where there are forks in the road or choices to be made. Until Dawn, Life is Strange are two I'm familiar with from 2015 because they lay it out very clearly, and a girlfriend, boyfriend, or significant other who isn't into video games will be able to connect to that game mechanic easily. Tito out.
Totally. That's a great point. That I
Yeah.
don't know that I've ever heard someone bring up that point before in discussions of those types of games, but he's absolutely right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean that's one of the reasons I thought my girlfriend would really enjoy it is it's light on gameplay.
Yeah.
Turns out she didn't because as a video game she was expecting, as she said,
Okay.
shooting and jumping.
Right.
But that wasn't there. But no, I'm with Tito on that, and that's one of the things that really endeared me to that game was, your life is a series of decisions, and how cool would it be to go back and see what would happen if you made a decision different from what you
Yeah.
actually did.
Yep.
So
Life is decisions, good and bad.
life is strange, man.
I will get to that sometime.
Corey,
this-
we
No
and
worries.
Corey still have to do our playthrough.
Yeah, we should let Dan do the playthrough, and you and I could spectate.
Yes, that's
I don't know if I want
brilliant.
that kind of pressure on my shoulders.
Oh, I won't. I'm not gonna put any pressure on your
Or
shoulders.
maybe
You will judge me.
will it take away from your experience, Dan, if Corey and I watch and comment every now
Yeah.
and again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And snicker.
Oh, Dan, you're such an idiot.
Exactly.
Oh, Dan, why'd you choose that?
Yeah.
You're right. Maybe Corey and I should do it, or wait for you to finish.
Yeah. I mean, once I get it going, like I'll probably play it in a couple nights.
Yeah, I did it in 2 sittings.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Moving on to Idaho Jake's feedback from last week that Dan and I missed. Hey guys, not much to report on except I'm going to try and platinum Fallout 4.
Wow.
Not going to say anything about the thummies except I agree that the console war should be taken out and replace it with best exclusive. He's referring, of course, to the infamous best console arguments that plague the Thummy Awards every year.
At least this year it was about first place and not second place.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a positive.
Good point. I will, however, take this moment to point out that my justifications for this year were the same as my justifications last year. However, last year I caught hell for it. This year I didn't. So
Well, didn't you pick opposite systems?
yeah.
You were Xbox One the first year and
Yep.
PS4 the second year.
And for the same reason, better
That's what-
exclusives.
That blows my mind.
Why?
Xbox had the better year.
Exclusives?
It's not only about exclusives. It's about so much more.
Well, that's
than
what
that.
the argument was about. But I said over and over again, as I did last year, for me, it's just about games. That's
I
it.
guess it's really hard to
Yeah.
argue it when Dan and I had more criteria to it than you and Eric.
Oh, yeah. And that's why we said over and over again, maybe we shouldn't do the category the way that we do it, which is what Jake is suggesting, replace it with best exclusive.
And I think
Even
that's
if
actually a
one
really
didn't
good.
play?
Huh?
Even if it's one you didn't play.
I think you had to have played it.
Yeah. I mean, I played a little bit of Bloodborne,
Yeah.
5 or 6 hours.
I think best exclusive is a really good category to replace it with. Honestly,
Well,
Go ahead, Dan.
I mean, for our voting system, I mean, we all have a Wii U, so those would automatically be pushed. But part of that is because, the value of
Right.
the Wii U.
Yeah, but I've also borrowed I borrowed a console to play Bloodborne.
Yeah, so did I.
So, I mean,
I would have cut somebody over on Till Dawn
yeah.
this year.
I don't think there's a right answer because for me, like I said during the Thummies, for me that category has always been about like appeasing the console war people.
Yeah.
But my answer to that is because I have a PC, is always best exclusive, which has been criticized because you can't take into account what you already have. But Dan's argument, I think, was yes, you can because that's how we do all our awards. And I think it's just super murky.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think there's a right answer to it.
Yeah.
I say we keep doing it because I think the arguments are fun.
I enjoy it myself.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're fun.
Yeah.
When you're not the main one both times.
Depends
yeah,
on.
it's fun.
That's why this year I was laughing about it and I was loving it. I kept egging everybody on a little bit.
Yeah. Dan and I had to. Dan and I were getting. Well, I was getting vocal. Dan wasn't. Dan doesn't get vocal.
No.
Me.
Now for question of the week. This question of the week is two-parter. First, what game work you like VR to do? What game work you like VR to
What?
do?
That's a tough question for VR.
Wait, what's it asking, Will? Do you understand it?
What game would you like to have for VR?
What game work you like VR to do?
Would
think
you like virtual
would-
reality?
Yeah.
Would you like VR to do? Oh, okay.
Corey, you numbnuts.
Pokemon Go.
I'd be in for Pokemon. That'd be fun.
Pokemon Snap.
Yeah, Pokemon Snap would be.
You
Safari
guys.
say-
with a camera.
I still say the VR, at least as of right now, does better as a stationary thing. I know the Vive is going to have some movement stuff, but I don't know. I still think the piloting, driving games are where it's at. I would like to play Dirt Rally with a full steering wheel and stuff in a VR headset. I think that would be amazing.
What Scream Ride?
What's that?
It's that game where you build roller coasters and they crash and stuff.
I don't like roller coasters all that much, so that wouldn't really appeal to me.
Okay. I'd like games like Proteus. You know, very
Trippy.
trippy games. You know,
Yeah.
where you're just kind of immersed in an environment. Like Journey, I think would be cool. Flower would be really cool in VR.
I actually heard a discussion about VR that said it's not going to be gaming that pushes VR. It's going to be not even. They specifically referenced like sporting events.
Really?
Yeah, like football,
Like a referee cam kind of thing.
referee cam or player cam, where you can. I mean, obviously they would have camera right, but I mean, how cool would that be to like
Well,
look at things through the eyes of a player in like full 3D and stuff?
I agree with you, but then why haven't we already seen GoPro footage of like a quarterback?
It's not the same if you're not like in it, you know.
Well, no, I agree with
Still-
you. I think VR would be superior, but if it seems like there should be a stepping stone, and we haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, Well, as I said, they talked about having to get the camera right, but because again, I think gaming will have very specific experiences that work for it. Maybe not on a broad appeal, but like I don't know. I just can't picture Call of Duty being fun to play in VR. You know?
No. Oh no. Wait, motion sickness.
Not even that, but
Well, just off your point, Dan.
yeah, go ahead.
One of my favorite bits from that movie with Mark Wahlberg where he plays for the Eagles.
Uh-huh.
What's that movie? Starts with an E.
Unbreakable something? Unbreakable?
No, it starts with an E.
Wait, what was the
Maybe not. Invincible.
Yeah, it's Invincible.
Yeah. Well, my two favorite scenes from that movie is when it's like his point of view on a kickoff.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So I could
Yeah.
totally see your.
I mean, I think if that sort of thing is done right, like that would be fantastic. You know?
Yeah. Totally agree. Jake's second part of this question is: are you going to watch porn in VR? The answer is
Yes.
absolutely yes,
For science.
for science purposes.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to test it out and let the consumers know.
That's
Whether-
viable.
Yeah.
So yes.
We
That-
also we had a question on Facebook to
Cool.
come through, and also in the chat we have a message from Rub My Nipples with Mayo. It's X-rated. I can't read it aloud, but
Nice.
I'm gonna read this Facebook question from Ryan Holmes.
Ryan in Michigan.
Ryan in Michigan says, "I have a question for you all. How do you sleep at night?" To which I asked the clarifying question, you mean literally, like how many pillows and stuff, or metaphorically, as in, how do we feel about being such assholes? And his answer was, well, now I'm more interested in how you literally sleep.
Uh-huh.
So, there's the question.
Okay. Well, you go ahead first, Corey.
We're currently in a full-size bed, me and the lady. I've just recently switched to a single thin pillow versus a couple thicker pillows. And then because she's a blanket, the lady's a blanket hog, I have my own blanket on the bed that I use.
Yeah. We use separate blankets too.
Yep.
It's better that.
It's not a super heavy quilt. It's a light quilt. I don't know if you guys remember it, but it's one we used to have back when we were kids. It's the white quilt with a blue
Underside.
Oh, yeah.
I think the one I have is the one that had the brown paint stain on the corner.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it
That's what
is.
I'm talking about. That's the one I use for my blanket. But she's a bed and a blanket hog, so I end up with about an eighth of the bed by the time I wake up in the morning.
Huh?
I do not sleep well. I really don't, and she knows it. I tell her all the time. When she's not there, I sleep 100 times better. So,
Nice.
but we actually, sitting right next to me, I'm pointing at it right now if you can see me on camera, is our queen size bed that we just got. We just haven't gotten sheets and a frame for it yet, so maybe that'll help a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't take any medication before bed or anything like that. I'm a pretty good sleeper, always have been. Hit the pillow and I'm out.
You should do a little nightcap. Sleep better.
Little nip of grandpa's cough medicine.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't need it. I sleep good. I pass right out no matter what.
I fall asleep really fast, but I'm kind of a late sleeper. My daughter wakes me up at least once a night for a bottle. We're trying to break her of that.
Yeah.
Man, it's not easy. I don't sleep very much though. I usually go to bed at 1:30 at the earliest, usually 2 or 2:30. Get up
Oh my God.
8 probably when the kids get up. Sometimes they'll let me sleep a little bit later than that, but not usually.
That's not terrible though.
No, it's enough for me.
Yeah. 6 hours is usually I can function on 6.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't usually feel any more rested if I get 8. It's about the same, you know.
There was a good article out, I forget what publication, but it was about this guy who has 5 kids and never slept. Like as a teenager and through his 20s and 30s, never
How do you-
slept.
What?
I mean, he slept, but like just like a few hours
Not-
a night. He
yeah.
called it his second work day from like 10 to 3.
Uh-huh.
That's the time he played, because I don't know what he does specifically, but he consumes popular culture and, spits it back out. And that was what he called his second workday, from like 10 to 3 a.m. He did that every day for
Wow.
much of his life, and only recently started taking Ambien. And he said it's totally changed his life, and he's missing out on his quote-unquote second workday, but he feels a lot better throughout the day.
I can see that.
I don't know.
That's pretty. I mean, that's my game time.
Yeah.
Between depending on when we can get the kids to bed. Ideally, it's about 9 o'clock, but sometimes it leaks into 9:30 or 10 o'clock, depending on how difficult they're being.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's. I mean, not 3. Sometimes 3. Like when we were watching Game of Thrones, we would go to bed at 3 or 3:30.
Oh, that's crazy.
And get up whenever the kids got up. But
Can't do that.
for me, I'm a 2-pillow person. I have a foam contour pillow and then a thinner pillow on top of that. And then me and my wife also have separate blankets. That's really the way to go.
Absolutely, it is.
Sometimes if it's really cold, we'll have our own separate blankets, but then throw a heavier blanket over the top of both of us. But that's only if it's cold, and it's not often. But I like a mattress low to the ground. I don't like a box spring. We're going to get a platform bed, but right now we're just mattress on the floor. But we're going to get a nice low platform bed.
I'm with you, man. Mattress on the floor.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. That's how, when I lived in the studio apartment, that's all I had was a mattress on the floor, and it was great.
Yeah.
That's weird.
I don't like, because for a while we had like a tall bed and a box spring and stuff, and it was like 4 feet off the ground, and
Yeah.
I like to sleep with my arm like hanging off the side, like laying on the ground. I just love that. I don't know why, but I did not sleep well on the high bed. We did not have that for very long.
I could see that.
It was scary.
Too high.
Yeah.
Will?
What about you, Will?
I sleep with it completely dark, no lights. If I have any light on, it bothers me enough to where I can't sleep. So it's pitch black. It's freezing cold. I have my door closed, and it's about like 10 degrees outside, so my room's cut off from heat. I have a Yankee blanket, a quilt, and a heavy blanket on me with 4 pillows on a fairly large bed, and that's how I sleep.
You're a psycho sleeper.
All stretched out.
Do you know what the funniest part is? Mom recently had to attach my sheets to the bed because I sleep so rough that they come off.
Attaboy.
So they're strapped in.
Nice. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Just briefly, I will say one sleep hack I discovered for myself that works pretty well is putting a pillow from my abs up to my chest the long way underneath the sheet. And for whatever reason, that pressure on my chest and stomach keeps me from rolling around all night.
Really?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I roll around a lot too. Maybe I should try that.
Try it. Yeah. Yeah. Try it. Heavier the pillow, the better.
All right.
Sounds good.
I can't sleep on my back though because then I get sleep paralysis.
I always sleep on my back.
I'm a side sleeper.
Yeah, I am too.
Well, what about this? What about metaphorically? How do we sleep when we're such assholes all the time?
Really dark room, cold, 4 pillows, 3 blankets.
It's usually that I'm going to bed so late that if I didn't fall asleep immediately, it'd be weird.
Yeah.
You know?
Gotcha.
Oh, the most important part of my ritual is at least 1 episode of The Office before I go to bed.
Oh, yeah. We
Yeah.
put on Futurama every night at bedtime, and I usually won't make it through half of an episode before I'm asleep.
Same. So I'm always constantly watching The Office because of that.
Yeah.
Took me 4 nights to watch Pirates of the Caribbean for that reason.
Yeah.
I've always been a good sleeper.
All right. Any other thoughts?
No.
No.
Do Do we have a topic for next week?
That's what I was going to ask. What are we doing next week?
I don't know. I got nothing right now.
Let's have Eric on for more Fallout 4
We
talk.
could do the Westport Independent. Kind of be hard to do a whole episode about that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll think of something.
Yeah, we always do.
Probably looking at Thursday again, most likely. That's the best day, at least for me.
It's my favorite day.
Yeah, Thursday. I hate recording on Wednesdays. I have too much to do on Wednesdays, so if we don't have to. Yeah, that'll do it for episode 235 of the Thumbstick Athletes podcast. I'm your host, Dan.
I'm Will.
Corey.
Thanks for listening, and get out of my basement. Oh, no one's in the basement right
Ain't
now.
nobody.